any society whereby people spend more than 50% of their income on food alone is a criminal society. And you know it's a criminal society. You know, when you spend this amount on food alone, how much are you going to spend for other things? It means that there's no way your take-home pay will get home. So multidimensional poverty is a situation whereby there are poverty at different levels facing the same person. He can't pay school fees, he can't pay hospital bills, he can't pay NEPA bills, he can't even pay transportation to work, and the most important, he cannot feed. So this person is multidimensional poor. He is poor at every level. He is health poor, he is energy poor, he is educationally poor, he is nutritionally poor, because he's measured in calories these days. How much calorie can his family live on? And they can't even think about issue of protein. They're poor at all these levels. So when money comes in, you say for school fees, nobody will think about school fees when there is no food in the house. Nobody will think about school fees when there is somebody dying that needs some drugs. So this family is multi-dimensional poor. There used to be this economic concept. People say government has no business in business. That's balderdash. Government should be the number one business in business, because it is when businesses are doing well that they will be able to contribute to the growth of the economy. It's easier to watch a young lady shaking breast or shaking bumbo and laughing about it. It's easier to watch somebody coming and make a joke about something, everybody laugh. But the brain reward system activates more when especially explicit, sexually explicit contents are seen. The brain reward system activates more. It gets more this thing. It's like a dopamine. It gets more activated than when you see the GDP of the GMP of the inflation rate, all this kind of thing. That one puts it down. Do you know why international television stations use beautiful women to cast business news?
Why?
That's the only thing that can get old men with money to invest to listen. You know, the biggest challenge the African man has is African man has not been able to properly appraise the place of time in his scheme of things. And every society that does not have respect and value for time are still operating at a primitive level. The dangers of identitarian politics, politics of identity. If the man in Aso Rock is like me, maybe he speaks my language, he's of my religion, he's of my ethnicity, he's from my section, I don't mind, I'm satisfied. You get it? That's what Nigerians do. And even if they are suffering, even if they are dying, they can't open up their mouth to talk about it. They can't bring themselves to criticize someone they supported or they support. They go back home, the real reality hits them. They start eating the best of sorrow and they start suffering gnashing of teeth. They wake at the middle of the night sweating, even in their air-conditioned rooms, but they cannot cry out. They eat the breast of sorrow. Some of these advanced countries, no matter what you say about some of these Western countries, what's your criticism about them, you found out that what they've been able to achieve is to ensure that merit, and they don't care what your color is, they don't care whether they can pronounce your name or not. If you are so smart, they will embrace you and mine your intelligence for the good of the society. But in Nigeria, if you are so smart, you will enter into trouble. Nobody will promote you. They will put you at the back office. Nobody will hear about you. They will frustrate you until you die. We've not really had committed leadership. And I will say, and I've been saying it since the turn of democratic experiment in 1998, 1999. I think the only leader we've had that understood the trend where the world is moving and who made effort to try to put Nigeria on the right track was Obasanjo during his second term, of which if those that followed after him had continued in that line, Nigeria would be better than what it is today.
If there's another life and you're going to be born again, would you like to still be born in Nigeria?
That's a tough one.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Selahmeditate, where we discuss challenging topics that will enrich your life and transform your mindset. Today, we'll be diving into the complex socio-economic challenges of Africa and Nigeria with my erudite guest beside me here, who is going to do justice to our today's discussion. We're going to explore a wide range of issues, including economic trends, governance, international relations, and human development. Our goal will be to unravel the challenges that is facing Nigeria and Africa at large and uncover potential solutions for a brighter future. Before I'm going to bring in my erudite guest here, I'm just going to take a moment and just read his brief profile. Kelechi Deca is a multilingual development journalist with 28 years hands-on experience spanning print, digital, and broadcast journalism, with special focus on human development, geopolitics, and economic diplomacy. In the course of his work, he has traveled to 78 countries across 5 continents of the world. He has a very conspicuous presence at every IMF/World Bank annual and spring meetings in the last 23 years. Same at the United Nations General Assembly over the last 20 years, the African Development Bank meetings, and the African Union Heads of State Summit consistently in the last 24 years. He is well consulted on issues of Africa due to his in-depth knowledge of the continent and its development challenges. As part of his hobbies, he writes a lot about cars, wildlife, travels, culture, and coffee. He's an alumnus of University of Nigeria and Nsukka. He's a father of 4 young men. So everyone, may welcome my very elder guest here, Kelechi Deca. Sir,
it's my pleasure. Thank you
for joining me on this special episode.
Thank you for having me.
It's really a pleasure to have you here.
Thank
Now, I want us to discuss more about Africa economics and a whole lot that I want us to cover in this episode. But before we get into the nitty-gritty of our discussion, I like hearing the background story of my guests and how they get into their field and everything that you do. So can you just share a little background story of you and how you get into development journalism? Just the background story.
Basically, I wouldn't say I got into journalism by chance. I think it's something I've always loved doing, even while I was young. I would thank my father for it because my father introduced me to reading newspapers at the age of 6. And from the time I was 6 till the time I got to university, there was never a day I didn't have access to at least 2 newspapers, 2 national newspapers to read. Even while I was in the secondary school, my father paid a vendor that was supplying me newspapers, and that made it help me a lot so that the senior boys were not even flogging me because they rely on me to always read newspapers because they read sports and all those kind of things.
Yes.
And also teachers, a lot of teachers rely on me getting newspapers. So while we were in the secondary school, I had a nickname. They used to call me the World News because I'm always the one that used to bring the news in school then at the secondary school. And another thing was that I had a transistor radio. I used to wake up as early as 4:30 to listen to the BBC World Service and the VOA. So while I was young, I got abreast with global affairs at a level that I followed it up all through, and it became part and parcel of my life. And that also influenced some of the subjects I embraced in secondary school. Geography was my most beloved subject in secondary school. And before I traveled around the world, I've already traveled around the world in my mind. So some of these countries, when I get to these countries, I already know a lot about them from what I studied and what I read while I was a kid. So these are some of the things that helped me towards channeling what I was to study when I got to the university. And when I graduated from the university, it was a kind of a stroke of luck, will I say providence, that I didn't have a place to do my youth service after I graduated, because I changed from one state to another. So I came late to Lagos, so I didn't have a place. So I waited for about three weeks or so, no place, until one day I was called. I went there to check. They say, yes, there's one place, one media house. They say they're looking for someone, that also has someone who can speak French. So I got there. That was how I got into it. It's a media house, the African Economic magazine, and they were doing a lot of write-ups and correspondence work, covering the whole of West Africa, and so they needed someone who could speak French, and I like writing and I like journalism, and I could speak French, so I fit in there, and that was how I started, and started there, and I loved the work then. I still love what I do now, but it also gave me an opportunity, opened the door to cover international conferences, and my first baptism was in 1999 when Togo hosted the then it was known as OAU, Organization of African Unity Heads of State Summit, and as a young journalist, that was 1999. Yeah, as a young journalist, I got face to face with almost all the heads of state in Africa as at that time, plus few other foreign heads of state that visited. So I got this and said, wow, this is the world. I mean, there's no better place to be than to sit down here, listen to all these people. You have access to them. I mean, you can sit down and the president will walk past through you and all those kind of things, And that was the first time I got face to face with Muammar Gaddafi, because he had a press conference and I asked one question that, he took time to listen, and everybody was just turning, looking at me. I was in my late 20s and that kind of thing. And the man said, it's a very good question. And the question I asked was about the African Union. I just told him that there are rumors that he is trying to form an African Union tailored after the European Union. I didn't know that it was a top secret then. I didn't know that they were still trying to mold it. They don't, then. And when I asked that question, a lot of them were shocked. Some of the presidents there were shocked, as if, how did I get to know about this thing? I got a query for that question. But in the long run, when African Union eventually came, was bettered, interestingly, the then Organization of African Unity sent me a free ticket, fully paid ticket to Durban, South Africa, for the inauguration of the African Union. And I had the opportunity to meet Nelson Mandela there. So you see how this has been working. So that's how my life has been.
You are multilingual. How many languages can you speak?
Well, I could do French and I could do German. Then when you put English, then you add Igbo. Then
how did you learn all of them? Is it by your traveling? Or?
In the university, I studied foreign languages. I went into the university to study mass communication.
Okay.
My life has been to study mass communication. But during the registration, I met a lecturer, from my place while we were discussing. He asked me what I want. I said, he said, you want to be a journalist? He said, yes. He said, why not you? Because he read something I wrote while I was in secondary school, so someone that he's not me for them. So why we say, he said, you already have the flair for writing. And in today's journalism, you can study English, you can study this and go into journalism. If you have the flair and you have the talent, you can make it. He said, why not go and get abreast in studying other languages, so that your journalism will be a kind of a global, international one. So that was how
you started.
Yeah. So I left. I couldn't go into mass communication that I got admission into. So I bought in Nsukka, then they used to do shopping form. I bought a shopping form to change course. And because my grade in JAM was also up high there, so I could move into any course I wanted to. And interestingly, I had all sciences and I had all arts in my results. So I could have studied anything. So
that's true.
Yes.
That's true. Now, you've traveled a lot and to different countries of the world. Now, how can you describe Nigeria's economic trend compared to other nations currently?
It's a very complex question because there's no simple answer to it. But let me just try. We've not really had committed leadership. And I will say, and I've been saying it, I think since Nigeria, since the turn of democratic experiment in 1998, 1999, I think the only leader we've had that understood the trend where the world is moving and who made effort to try to put Nigeria on the right track was Obasanjo during his second term. Since that time, we've not had any leadership
as a military,
as a civilian.
Okay.
Yeah, even as a military, he did a lot of things that still, that still resonates to that. But as a civilian, during his second term as a civilian, I mean, he was able to, set the ball rolling and put the country in the right motion, of which, if those that followed after him had continued in that line, Nigeria would be better than what it is today. So what we've been having over time are kind of short-term thinkers. The short-termism in the system has made it so hard for us to see beyond 4 years. So what we do every 4 years, even when someone who's going to stay for 8 years, you find out that their policies are kind of short term every 4 years. They're not doing 8 years policies. They do one policy to at the end of their first tenure, then they do another policy. The policy they start at the end of for their first tenure is to get a second re-election. So when they get a second re-election, they do another policy. And it reminds me about that saying that politicians plan towards the next election, while great leaders plan towards the next generation.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's the challenge we've been having. So this has impacted our economy. Look at what's happening now. Look at where Nigeria is presently, and look at we've been crawling while our mates are soaring like the eagle. So it's a big challenge. We've not been able to do the right things, to put the economic fundamentals in place. A country of 200 million people is a big market. But you are not a big market because you have 200 million people. The issue is that the 200 million people you have, what are their purchasing power? So that even if the market is there, they will be able to lift up. So first and foremost, a country that has about 80% of its citizenry declared as poor, then it is a challenge. But one thing people also know is that poverty is a challenge. Poverty is also an advantage. There was a man that came up with something, the bottom billion. I can't remember his name now. He wrote a book, The Bottom Billion, of how countries that have poor people can use it as an advantage. And if you're able to lift people out of poverty, lifting them out of poverty has a way of lifting your own economy. Most manufacturing industries in Nigeria today are operating at below capacity, because if they try to even manufacture to produce at say 50% capacity, they will have a warehouse effect. And the warehouse effect is when you have so much goods in the warehouse and they don't have off-takers, you don't have people who come in to buy it. They will have a warehouse effect. So what they are doing is that they are producing at a very low rate. And when you're producing at lower than installed capacity, it's also affecting employment, because you need lesser hand than you would have taken. Of which, if they are producing at at say 70-80% installed capacity, they will need more hands. And when you need more hands, you pull more people out from the unemployment market. And when you pull more people out of the unemployment market, you pay them salary. You pay them salary, it puts money in their pocket. When they have money in their pocket, they spend it, and the money keep on circulating. They spend it and they pay taxes. Government makes money, they themselves makes money. Then there's a circulation within the economy. So everybody is being taken care of. And as everybody is being taken care of, the economy is going. You are lifting people, and the consumer level is also growing, so that people will be able to purchase the things they want to purchase. So that's what China did. Lift people out of poverty, so that they will also improve domestic consumption, so that they will also have their people buy the things they produce. You remember Henry Ford used to say something. He said that he wants to create a car company whereby everybody who is working in the Ford Motors company should be able to afford a Ford motor. He doesn't want a situation whereby there are people who are working in Ford Motor Company, even if they're janitors, even if they're cleaners, that won't be able to afford a Ford car.
Now, you talked about the fact that there are things that the governments are not doing, or the things they are not doing in place, the right things, so that we create all this enablement. What are those things? And how can
some time ago, I won't say long time ago, there used to be this economic concept. People say government has no business in business. That's balderdash. Government should be the number one business in business, because it is when businesses are doing well that they will be able to contribute to the growth of the economy. It is when businesses are doing well that their tax level will also increase, so the government will be in a position to expand the tax dragnet, so that people who should be paying tax, but because they didn't have job and they're not paying tax, will be paying tax, and government will make a lot of money. It is when businesses are doing well that they will be able to employ. And when government say, I'm going to create 10 million jobs, who is going to be the one to offtake all those people in the unemployment market? Is the businesses. So that's why all over the world, what government do is to create the enabling environment, and they are now going more than that. State capitalism was dead, but after some time, China revived state capitalism. And by that, and they came up with a concept whereby people have seen that the problem with government-run agencies and corporations is not that people cannot run it. It is that they run government agencies and government companies like civil service. But if you run government agencies and companies like profit-making private organizations, they will be able to achieve more. That's what Ethiopia is doing with Ethiopian Airlines. It's a government-owned airline, but it is presently one of the most profitable. Look at Qatar Airlines. It's a government-owned airline. Look at Emirates. They're government-owned. And they're doing far, far more better than some of those that are private-owned. Why are they doing that? You go to China, see what they're doing with all their, the biggest, some of the big, when you talk about the top 10 biggest banks in the world, about 4 of them are Chinese banks. They're government-owned banks. When you talk about the top 10 biggest construction companies in the world, about 4 or 5 of them are Chinese companies. They're government-owned. So but they're doing very well.
No.
So the issue is that if you're able to tackle, China has been able, you see, meritocracy is the number one thing. Some of these countries are very adept at meritocracy. And because they're very adept at meritocracy, they've been able to bring in the right hands to run the affairs in some of those organizations. Then they open doors for these organizations to also go to other countries, to go and make money and create opportunity for jobs opening for their people. So that's why you see some of these Chinese companies, construction companies everywhere, they're bringing a lot of Chinese to come and work there. So these are also helping the government in China to make sure that their people are also employed, not even employed within China, employed outside China. They're earning foreign currency and repatriating funds back to China. So these are part of the thing. But first and foremost, you have to talk about the basics, infrastructure.
Okay.
In the absence of infrastructure, there is not much. You see, we think about infrastructure from the physical sense. of roads, bridges, electricity, and all this one. The infrastructure, there's an infra, then there is a structure. The infra upon which the structure is laid upon is the mental. You have to be able to create a society whereby the people's reasoning capacity get to a certain level. I mean, look, if you pave the street of, let me use Lagos or anywhere in Nigeria, if you pave it with gold to there, by the next 1 week, that gold will start looking like rusty iron. Because the culture is yet to evolve to a level where people understand the importance of having an environment that is sparkling clean. I remember it was Martin Luther King that said one time, he said that if you are called to be a sweeper, sweep so well that the angels of heaven will look down and they say, yeah, this is a man that knows his calling.
Yes.
I mean, if you've been to China before, there are something you will notice. By the time you wake up every morning, you will see all the roads will be as if they were washed, not swept. As if they were washed.
Seriously.
They were washed. I saw that in Shanghai first time. Then what happened? Because I was suffering from a jet lag, I didn't sleep on time. So around 3 a.m., between 2 a.m. to 3 a.m. and 4 a.m., I saw all these sweepers, all these big trucks that have all these sweepers on them. They were sweeping the roads. And as they were sweeping the roads, you see another one with a kind of water. It was splashing it and cleaning some of the dust that we are sticking on the road. So when you come out in the morning, everywhere is sparkling clean. Then they do it and they go, and nobody is stopping anybody. But here in Nigeria, if those sweepers want to sweep, they will block one side of the road, put all those cones everywhere, cause a traffic, and we do it during rush hour in the morning, so that everybody will see that we are sweeping. And that you're sweeping, you're blocking people going to work, you're causing traffic, and apart from that, you're also putting your own life at risk. That is not how things run. You have to develop the infra upon which the structure is going to lay upon. And because we've not been able to develop the infra, that's why we are having challenges with maintenance culture. That's why we can't even clean toilets in our airports. That's why we can't even handle issues of escalators in our airports. Have you asked yourself, how come that if you go to so many shopping malls across Nigeria, escalators are working? You go to the airport, escalators are not working. How come you go to a shopping malls in Nigeria, air conditioning system are chilling, then you go to our airport, air conditioning system is not doing? Why? Why? That's what I'm telling you. It is the infra. We have to start rethinking our understanding of public property, how to manage public property. When you arrive at a nation, every country I've been to, immediately I arrive at the airport, pass through security, I will be able to ascertain what to expect in that country. By the time you speak with a custom agent, speak with an immigration agent, speak with a taxi driver, you get to your hotel, speak with the hotel receptionist, I can tell you with 95% certainty the kind of society it is. That's how you get all some of these things. But we are not focusing on those things. We need, first and foremost, we also need, people have been talking about, we have National Orientation Agency, but what do? They just sit down there and collect salary at the end of the day. Everybody goes home. They are using, the government say that the government is using it as a kind of, money for the boys, service some of our people and all this kind of thing.
Yeah.
But are they doing what they are supposed to do? We need both cultural, intellectual and mental reorientation. That's what we need in that area. But another area, if you want to grow as a society in the 21st century, you cannot run away from meritocracy. You have to let the people who have what it takes to do what it takes. Square pegs in square holes. Without it, no country ever develops. That's why even some of these advanced countries, no matter what you say about some of these Western countries and what's your criticism about them, you found out that what they've been able to achieve is to ensure that merit, and they don't care what your color is, they don't care whether they can pronounce your name or not.
Yes.
If you are so smart, they will embrace you and mine your intelligence for the good of the society. But in Nigeria, if you are so smart, you will enter into trouble. Nobody will promote you. They will put you at the back office. Nobody will hear about you. They will frustrate you until you die.
Why? Where is that mindset coming from, and how can that be changed?
The crab mentality.
Crab mentality.
Yeah, you've read about crab mentality before. Yeah, when you put all the crabs inside the bucket, and one is trying to go out, everybody will be trying to drag it down. That's crab mentality.
How do
we have cultural crabism, and cultural crabism is a situation whereby everybody wants everybody to be at their level. And let me tell you, and it happens everywhere. You see, if you get to a family, if one person succeeds and raises up in a family, is shining in a family, before you know it, every other person within that family will forget about what they're doing. They will start leeching, parasiting on that one shining light until everybody will drag him. When they drag him down to their level and they start telling him, look at stupid man, he had money, he didn't know his money misroad, he didn't use it well, but they didn't know how they contributed in bringing him down. And that's a big problem we have. Instead of when somebody rises up, what we should do is to think about how that person can lift another person to the level, so that the other person that's lifted can also lift another person. So when you are able to lift more people who can meet needs higher than demands, then that family will start becoming wealthy. But when you have a situation whereby demands outpace the supply of help within that family will not be able to escape poverty. And this is the way it is in a family is the way it is in a society. When you have a society like in Nigeria now, whereby you have a large number of people who are so poor that they don't know where their next meal is going to come from, you cannot build a sustainable society that way. That's why we have one of the highest rate of multidimensional poverty in the world. And when I talk about multidimensional poverty,
break it down, because people don't understand what
people don't understand.
Is.
When you talk about multidimensional poverty, people don't understand. Let me use a layman's way.
Yes.
In a layman's way, multidimensional poverty is that if you have maybe let's say my uncle in the village calls me now and said that his daughter or his son is very sick, that they need money to take the son to the hospital, and I say, how much do you need? He said 20,000 naira will be okay, and I said 25,000 naira. By the time the money gets there, the family has not eaten for the past 2 days. There is no way they're going to use that money to go to the hospital when they have not eaten.
When they have not eaten.
You get it? Maybe the family is having a situation whereby they've not NEPA cut their light, and they've not had light for the past 2 days. And somebody in NEPA say, if you're able to bring, say, something, just pay something. From that 25,000, they will bring out, say, 5,000 to pay something to NEPA. From that 25,000, they will bring out, say, 15,000 to at least buy food. It is somebody who is alive that will die.
Exactly.
Is it not? So the person who is sick will be alive before she will die. But for her to be alive, she will have to eat. So multidimensional poverty is a situation whereby there are poverty at different levels facing the same person. He can't pay school fees, he can't pay hospital bills, he can't pay NEPA bills, he can't even pay transportation to work, and the most important, he cannot feed. So this person is multidimensional poor. He is poor at every level. He is health poor, he is energy poor, he is educationally poor, he is nutritionally poor because it's measured in calories these days. How much calorie can a family live on? And they can't even think about issue of protein. They're poor at all these levels. So when money comes in, you say for school fees, nobody will think about school fees when there is no food in the house. Hunger. Nobody will think about school fees when there is somebody dying that needs some drugs. So this family is multidimensional poor. So when you want to solve their problem, you start looking at their problem from the most basic. That's how you start solving your problem. Wow. But because government policies don't understand some of these things, they use a top-down approach instead of down-up approach. Wow. And that's why they will just go to a community and they'll just sink borehole. But nobody is asking whether borehole is what this community need at this particular time. Maybe this is a community that trek 30 kilometers to see the dispensary where they can buy Panadol. Then you're spending billions of naira giving them street light. And you come and say, because your House of Representatives, somebody, you have done street light, everybody will clap for you for giving them street light. You don't ask yourself that these people you are giving street light, where is the closest health center? Where is the closest school? Do they have access to go to their farm, harvest things, and bring it out to be able to sell? That is the way they tackle poverty. But you're giving them street light without even bringing them. That's why when we talk about, consultation, inclusivity, there should be inclusivity in policy formulation. You should be able to understand what are the immediate needs of the people before you start solving their problems. Like Igbo people say that somebody who wasn't there when the corpse was buried will start excavating it from the legs.
Now, one of the examples talked about food insecurity and what is currently happening when it comes to food and hunger. Now, what are the long-term effects of this food insecurity that you think this country is facing currently? It's crazy.
You see, part of some of the things that we are facing presently is so crazy that some of us find it very difficult to write it down. It's so scary to write it down, because also part of the thing is that if you are also in a position of knowledge leadership, one thing you should also understand is that knowledge is a burden, and knowledge can also frustrate you. The things you know can also weigh you down and push you into depression, because you look at a lot of people who don't understand some of the things you know, and are also living in bliss. And where they say ignorance is bliss. And you start looking at them, you start thinking about them, that these people don't even see the short term, medium term, not to talk of the long term effect of what is happening to them, what is about to hit them. Let me give you an example. First and foremost, inability to get to a certain level of required nutritional value is a health challenge. A lot of people will start losing the level of immunity they have. So their body not being able to get enough food are also opening up to a lot of diseases. That is going to happen. Wow. And another thing that's going to happen is that a lot of people who can't pay for bills, electricity bills, are also not going to have access to water, because we live in a dysfunctional situation whereby your electricity is tagged to your ability to your water. So if you don't have electricity, you don't have water. So which is wrong, because we are not properly planned. Electricity is not supposed to be tied to water at all. Now we have almost everybody. No state in Nigeria now thinks about or have a functioning water corporation, because everybody is digging borehole. I will come to that later, which has a very dangerous issue. But the thing you have to ask yourself is that when you go to every compound, where is the borehole located? Then where is the septic tank located? You will find out that some of the borehole are even located so close to the septic tank. And the septic tank, whereby they put all the stuff, all the excreta and all those kind of things, is seeping into the water system underground, and their borehole is also pumping the water, and these things are not treated, and they're consuming, using it to cook, using it to brush my, using it to all this kind of thing. And these are people, as I told you, hunger is they're already depleting their immune stock. And see, it's a circle. It's a circle. That's another one area. A second area is that they say that a hungry man is an angry man. I mean, you don't need anybody to tell you. When you go out of the street now, you see the level of frustration. You know, you can even match somebody and the person will slap you. And you can even bash somebody's car and the person will come out and the fight will start. Something that we ordinarily should say, I'm sorry, but the fight will start. Then if you don't understand human dynamics, you will say, why are these people fighting all this? They are not fighting because of that thing that happened. They are fighting because of built up frustration which they were not able to manage. And this makes a lot of people so angry, and when they get so angry, a lot of people are also getting so desperate, they are ready to do a lot of things for money. And as they get so desperate, crime rates are likely to keep on rising.
Wow.
And as crime rates are rising, you're also having a situation, like I wrote something the other day, and you know, when you moved around, you see some of these women who sell plantain. Now you see 3,000 naira plantain is about three pashiokod, stick of plantain. And those women will have it there. The people who are buying are so, people are not buying as they used to buy. And those plantain will ripen and turn to black. Nobody is buying from them. They're losing money and they couldn't even eat it and feed their family. So it is a loss at every angle. Nobody is looking at it from that side. A lot of these women are selling perishable goods. People are not buying as they used to. They are losing money. And some of them are trading with borrowed money from microfinance bank and those kind of things. They are losing money. And if they are losing money, they are not able to go and buy again from the market. And if they're not buying from the market, their suppliers are not also selling. They are losing money. And if their suppliers are not selling, their suppliers will not go back to the farmer to buy. The farmer is losing money. He harvested and nobody is buying. He is losing money. You see all the dimension that this thing is going through. People are losing money at every dimension.
How does this food insecurity compare with other countries?
You see what happened. I mean, in the last 1 year, I've been able to visit about 5 countries, and I've noticed there are some of them I've been to three times within the year, and I've noticed something. Where some countries, a lot of countries, there is high inflation, global inflation anyway, and a lot of challenges all over the world that affected some of these things. But in most of these countries, and that's why I laugh anytime somebody come up and say, prices of things are also increasing in UK. Exactly. Prices of things are also increasing in Canada. Yes. Prices of things are, but what has happened in the last 1 year? Go and check wage increases in some of those countries and check wage in Nigeria. Why wage in Nigeria has stagnated, and the devaluation of the naira and high food inflation has also made it such that your take-home pay does not even get home. In those other places, wage has been able to rise to meet inflation. When wage rises to meet inflation, it has a cushioning effect that you yourself will not feel. So that's why when you compare in other areas, wage has risen to meet inflation. But in Nigeria, inflation has doubled so much that wages cannot meet it. And apart from inflation doubling, unemployment is also on the rise. So when you have unemployment on the rise, inflation on the rise, the economy is not growing enough, and the population rate is also on the rise. So you have a kind of spiral effect on every other area. Wow.
Now, what do you think is the government's current leadership? What are they doing to ameliorate that? Do you think they're doing something? I mean,
if they're doing anything to ameliorate it, we wouldn't suffer the strike we suffered recently. That we suffered that strike, after the warning for more than 1 month,
yes,
shows that nothing was done to ameliorate it. If they're doing anything to ameliorate it, you would feel it in your pocket, you will feel it in your house, you will feel it from yourself. I used to tell people that the sum total of a national economy, the way you measure whether a national economy is improving for good or not, is to measure your own personal economy. Check the economy of your friends, check the economy of your relatives. If the economy of your friends and your relatives and everybody around you is doing very well and your own is not doing very well, then you know it's a personal problem. But if the economy of your friends and your relatives and whoever you know is not doing very well and yours is not doing very well, you are the people that made up the national economy. So the national economy is a sum total of all family economies within the nation. So if they are doing something to ameliorate it, a tuber of a tablet of yam will not be 2,500. Nobody will buy just one tomato, one tiny tomato for 100 naira. And those kind of, so nothing is being done to ameliorate it. And also, we have a challenge with farmlands. Insecurity is preventing farmers to go to harvest some of their crops, and we keep on shouting to people and we keep on telling people and say, go back to the farm, go back to the farm, go back to the farm. Do you know how many people who went back to the farm and they were kidnapped and they never came back again? And do you know how many people in some parts of the north presently, farmers that are paying taxes to bandits in order to go to their farm to farm and harvest? And you think that when they pass through that eye of a needle to be able to farm, and the products they are harvesting, they will sell it at the normal price? No, they're not going to sell it at the. They're going to mark up whatever the bandits are, collecting from them into the cost of their product. And by the time it got to us, it has passed through 3 stages, and the price. That's what. One of the reasons we're having high food inflation. So when you have high food, there was a man that said something. He said that any society whereby people spend more than 50% of their income on food alone is a criminal society. And it's a criminal society. When you spend this amount on food alone, how much are you going to spend for other things? It means that there's no way your take-home pay will get home.
What about other African countries? Do you think they're experiencing similar issues?
Yeah, there are some African countries that are experiencing similar issues, but some of the different countries are also managing it better. Let me give you an example. I was in Sierra Leone late January, February. Then I was there also in May. And between that January, February, and May, the foreign exchange, there's a stability.
Okay.
There's a stability in the foreign exchange, even though the inflation is high, but there's a stability. So when there's stability, people can plan. Uncertainty causes chaos. In Nigeria today, you go and price something today, you go tomorrow, is no more there. Different. So what that leads to, it leads hoarding mentality. People will spend money that they don't have to buy things they don't need immediately, out of fear that the price of that because they might need that in the next 1 week or 2 weeks, out of fear that the price might get beyond them. So they spend the money, expendable income that they don't have to buy things they don't need. And when everybody is doing it, speculation is growing, and when everybody is speculating, it fuels a lot of uncertainty, and uncertainty is not good for any economy.
Wow. This is so massive. Now, in all this, what do you expect Nigerians to do? What should we do? Is there a way out? What should
the way out? You see, Nigeria is in a big mess because Nigerians are ostriching. Yeah. Nigerians are ostriching, and they are comfortably or willfully, ignorantly ostriching. Just, they know what the problem is. But what I've been telling people about Nigeria, I think Nigeria is an orphan, in that nobody truly, truly loves Nigeria. But rather, what they do is that if you would discover when President Jonathan was in office, majority of his supporters are from the Southeast and the South. And as during that period, the most patriotic Nigerians you could get are people from the Southeast and the South. They're the ones flying the green way groups. They are the ones saying everything, God bless Nigeria every day, and all those kind of things. And that's at that time, the people who were badmouthing Nigeria are mostly people from the North and the Southwest. When Jonathan left office, the people who were very patriotic under Jonathan became unpatriotic. And the people who were unpatriotic under Jonathan became patriotic. You get it? Because the man they want is in office. So even if the man is messing up the whole thing, they don't care. As long as the man, one of their own. That's the dangers of identitarian politics. Politics of identity. If the man in Asorok is like me, maybe he speaks my language, he's of my religion, he's of my ethnicity, he's from my section, I don't mind, I'm satisfied. You get it? That's what Nigerians do. And even if they are suffering, even if they are dying, they can't open up their mouth to talk about it. They can't bring themselves to criticize someone they supported or they support, which is also part of that primitive nature. We are still an unevolved society whereby people find it difficult to criticize someone they support. You can criticize someone you supported. In that criticism, the person will be able to properly gauge the mood of the nation. It's not that when, because you supported someone, things are going bad, you are still singing on your mandate, we shall stand. You're standing on the mandate with empty stomach. You're standing on the mandate, you can't buy drugs for your blood pressure. You're standing on the mandate, you can't buy fuel. You can't even feed your family. You can't even pay school fees. You can't even pay electricity bill. What are you standing on? No.
So is that what you mean by ostriching?
Ostriching, yeah. You know, the ostrich bed. You know, people used to say that it used to bury, if it has danger, it used to bury itself in the ground, and cover the head, whereas the whole body is showing up. Yeah, but you see, that thing entered into English lexicon. People believed it, but factually, it does not bury itself. But that's when we are talking about wildlife. I can go and explain what happens. But because every time you see an ostrich, it is digging something in the ground. So earlier people who observed it thought that it buries its head in the ground. So that's concept of ostriching. People just bury themselves as if they try to create the alternative reality, whereby they think that you know that talk they used to say that it is well with me and my family. Me and my family will prosper. It will favor me and my family. But they go back home. The real reality hits them. They start eating the best of sorrow, and they start suffering gnashing of teeth. They wake at the middle of the night sweating, even in their air-conditioned rooms, but they cannot cry out. They eat the breast of sorrow.
Wow. Now, what do you have to say regarding the recent strike we spoke about? You know, it's because of new minimum wage. You're talking about 460 upon 190. What do you think about it? Do you think it's realistic or
no? First and foremost, it is not a living wage. You have to ask yourself, what is a living wage? And I used to give this analogy. People say, okay, let's give for example, the so-called minimum wage is 30,000. But we know that not all the states are paying up to 30,000. Some people are still earning 18,000. Some people are still earning 20,000 minimum wage. And they come and say, and then somebody will just come and say, but there are also inflation in the US. In some states, you know, the minimum wage in the US is state by state. It's not a federal thing. Yeah, there are some states that pay $15. But the thing is that there's a federal minimum wage upon which you cannot go below. I think it's about $18 or $15 in the US or so. You can't go below. Yeah, per hour. So, but there are some states that do up to $20, $22. So let me give you an example. A man who gets, say, $25 per hour in the US, that's about approximately 28 or 30,000. That's about 30,000 now.
Yes.
Another man, and this is a man who is at the minimum entry level. And another man in Nigeria who is at the entry level is being paid 30,000 per month.
Per 1 month.
Why you're saying inflation is also in the US the same way it is in Nigeria? While the man who is earning $25 in the US per hour will be able to fill the tank of a Toyota Corolla with his 2 hours pay and still have some change. The man in Nigeria, if it happens to have a Toyota Tico, it says Hyundai Tico, Picanto. Yeah, if he is driving a Picanto, or if he's driving this Suzuki they're using for Uber, he will not be able to fill that. Some of them are about 18 liters or 30 liters fuel tank or so. Yeah, he will not be able to fill the fuel tank with his 1 month pay. You see the difference.
Yes.
So that man who can fill the fuel tank of Toyota Corolla with his 2 hours pay, how do you expect him to complain about inflation the same way the man who can fill a Toyota Corolla with his 1 month pay in Nigeria? You getting it? You see, some of these things, until we break it down to the language people understand, they will not be able to understand some of these things. And one thing you have to know is that every devaluation of your currency is a devaluation of your life. Because your life is your currency. The value of your life, the standard of living you have, is the ability, it depends on what your purchasing power. You get it? And when you live in a country like Nigeria, whereby people don't have health insurance, they don't have social security, they don't have all this, and you're also talking about devaluation of currency. Japan can devalue the yen, China can devalue the yen through currency, and South Korea can devalue their won through currency manipulation. What are they doing? They're devaluing it so that their exports will be cheaper in the international market, so that when their goods that are manufactured in that place gets to international market, it will not be very expensive for people there to buy. You get it?
That's true.
Now, today, Range Rover is being made in India. If you noticed, post-Thatcherite Britain moved from a manufacturing society to a service-oriented society, because they discovered that the strength of the British pounds is making it hard for them to export made in Britain products, because it means that the products you're making in Britain, you're making it at a very high cost, of which when you export it, there's no way you're going to sell it cheaper than the cost of production. But also it affected them. It used to affect the German, when the German marks was so high before they moved to the euro. So Britons moved into a service-oriented society. That's why presently now, some of those iconic British cars, majority of them are not made in Britain. I mean, the engine of the Rolls Royce is built by BMW anyway, and a lot of people don't know. And when you talk about, you look at Bentley, Jaguar, Land Rover, Range Rover, they're owned by Tata of India. And presently, Range Rover is being made in India. A lot of people don't know. It's been made in India. And it's been made at about, they say about 25% cheaper than it was when it wasn't made in India, and which means that it's going to be able to compete at price level with the competition. China also do it through what they call currency manipulation. You call it whatever you want, but a country got to do what it got to do to promote its own products and also help its people. The Chinese companies get a lot of subsidy from the government to be able to mass produce products made for export, so that they will be able to sell it at a subsidized rate so that it can compete internationally. So what this does is that the subsidy government is paying some of those people. How do government recoup it? Government recoup it by, when the companies, the manufacturers are employing more and more hands. More and more hands are being taken off the employment market, creating jobs. And those people are eating, feeding, paying rents, paying taxes. You know that kind of thing. So they're also contributing in the circular economy, money moving around within the economy. And the more people you have who are busy, the less work a government will have to do, the less work the police and the security agencies will have to do, because there will be less crime. So when more people are...
Okay, so in a nutshell, is the minimum wage you are requiring, is it realistic? 400
it's not realistic. But you see, people make a mistake when they start looking at it from that perspective. First and foremost, ordinarily, in a more organized society, the government should have engaged think tanks to do survey, to know what is the basic wage that, say, a family of 3 or a family of 4 can live on without going under the water.
Okay,
that's how it's done all over the world. Think tanks do carry out these surveys, and they come out with this and give the government this. Okay, those are the things you do. So, but the thing is that if you're paying 30,000, if you move out from 30,000 to, say, 70, 80, up to 100,000, that is a good improvement. Okay. And when people say that it will raise inflation, that's rubbish. They're just talking rubbish. They're just talking rubbish, because a lot of things, what they don't know is that they've not looked at it from another area, that over time people don't even have expendable income, that the expendable income of the majority of Nigerians have been dwindling, has been going down, and when it's going down, then it means that a lot of these people can't buy the things they are supposed to buy in the market.
Why they say it's going to raise inflation is the fact that when
there will be money in circulation,
and apart from that, if a company, if I'm being obligated to pay my staff 460,000, 490,000 naira, how do you think I'm going to get the money? I'm going to push the money on my products or my service. And what's going to happen? It means my price of goods is going to go up. Price of what I offer is going to go up.
Yeah, but
that means that more money will be demanded for that to be paid.
But the price of what you're producing has been going up for the past. If you check, there's no company that is still selling at the same price they sold in 2015. But that would and let me tell you, between 2015 and now, no company is still selling what the price of things they were selling in the last period. And even within the last period, that same money, that same naira has lost so much value. So it put it in a situation whereby we are not just suffering inflation, we are suffering shrinkflation and skimpflation. And because we are suffering inflation, shrinkflation and skimpflation, we are now having mass sachetization.
Break it down.
I saw a video the other time whereby they are cutting yam. They are cutting yam in sort of pieces, kind of this. So now, if you cannot sell a good tuber of yam, the standard tuber of yam now is about 6,000. So if you want to eat yam and you don't have up to 6,000, they can cut you 1,000, cut you 2,000, and now you see what's happening now. People are putting everything is in sachet. If you carry in sachet, everything now is in sachet. So which means that the market is competing for the lowest amount of money you have in your pocket, trying to ascribe a value to it. But in the long run, you are just getting a kind of emotional, how do I put it? You are getting emotional satiation, not real satiation. It's like you just use your 200 naira to go and buy a sachet of milk. And by the time you buy it, you find out that air makes up a certain amount of that. What puffed it up is more air than milk. In the long run, you're mentally, psychologically, you agree that you're enjoying milk, but you're not getting what milk is supposed to give your body. Whereas your money, you have lost your money. So now what you're getting is a kind of a psychological, emotional satiation, emotional satisfaction, which has physical satisfaction. So those are part of the thing, what poverty does to human beings. So what poverty does, but you know, let me not be, I'm running away from the question you asked about this, you know, about the issue of inflation.
Yeah.
You see, first and foremost, we have to ensure that our more people live on living wages. It is for the good of the economy. I remember first time I went to Japan, I saw taxi drivers. I saw the shoe they are wearing, the suit. All of them are on suit and tie, like bank managers. I said, wow, these people. Then when I heard how much they make, when you stop a taxi in Japan, you know what it is now. That's why in Japan, they have the public transport system is one of the best in the world. Those things are expensive. Taxi is expensive. Then I discussed with one of my guides. He said that part of the thing is that the more you raise, make sure that everybody is at a certain wage level in life, that the multiplier effect on the economy is huge. But because a lot of government don't think long term, they are thinking about how much they're going to lose now. But you don't know that more money in people's hands also equals more purchase. And more purchase also equals, do you know how many companies that have left Nigeria in the last six months? Go and check some of the excuses they are given. Apart from poor infrastructure, major excuse is poor sales. So when people are not seeing it this way, and when those companies left, Procter and Gamble left, the other one left, there's another one that opened at Ikorodu that used to do Huggies, they left. They came in 2021 or so, set up $100 million factory, they left. But when you think about the impact of their living within the Ikorodu community, you will understand why economics is so interconnected. Do you know how many women around Ikorodu community that open mama put shops because of the factory workers there? Do you know how many keke drivers that they know they have passengers every day from the bus stop to the factory, from the bus stop to the factory, and that is their job? Do you know the effect of that factory on the real estate within that environment? Do you know how many suppliers depend on that factory? When a factory shuts down and leaves, it is not that factory only that is losing. The entire community loses and the country loses. All these things are interconnected.
Now, when we talk about, in one of your posts that I saw, you talked about the Nigerians' anyhowness mindset.
Yes.
How did we get to that anyhowness? Is it from our culture? Is it from behavior? Is it from government policies? And how can that be corrected?
Culture is everything. Culture is everything. There's a concept in economics called culturomics. It's a part of behavioral economics. But I'm not an expert I'm not an economist anyway. So on my delving into economics is just as a hobby and a quest for study. But I've been able to understand some of this. Culturomics is a kind of a totality of how culture affects the economics of a people. The way the value system. It is value system that dictates societies. When you think about culturomics, culture of anyhow, you just, where am I going to start? You know, the other time I made a post that I went to Murtala Mohammed Airport.
Yes.
The neon sign, Murtala Mohammed International Airport, none of the words, Murtala Mohammed International, none of the 4 words have complete neon sign. Either some letters have fallen up, some have, but this is the nation's gateway. Why should it be so? It shouldn't be so. But if you understand how interconnected things are and how to connect the dots, about issues like this. Immediately you're coming into that airport, see that thing there. You should, if they say those who know, you will know that this is a country of anyhowness. Because in a more responsible society, that thing is not supposed to last there for 24 hours. They would have changed it
immediately.
Go to so many places. If you're coming home in the night and you see one street light that's not lighting up, by the time you wake up the next morning, they've changed the bulb.
How can that be? How can that mindset be changed?
Education. I said, yeah, our education is horrible. The other time they made a post about Njoku Hall at University of Nigeria and Soka hostel, Njoku hostel. I saw that room where students are. I cried and I made a post about it. But a lot of people came, they were just laughing. They say, government don't care. It's our government. It's our leaders. It's not this thing. But nobody understood the torture, the mental and intellectual torture those students are going through. That those students, even within themselves, allowed themselves to get to the level of living like pigs in a room like that. It shows that they've numbed. Certain aspects of their consciousness are dead. When certain aspects of your consciousness are dead, to notice things that are unusual, things that shouldn't be, you are going to grow up to a man who will enter into a toilet and after peeing will not wash his hand and come out. Because over time, your mind has been conditioned. There is a conditioning taking place when you live in that society. You live in that room as a student. You carry your books, go to lecture, come back, live in that room that is so dirty that some people will not allow their pigs and their dogs to live in. That's where you live in from semester to semester. There is no way you're going to come out a fully educated human being. And when you are unleashed into the society, you're going to contribute your own quota to the anyhowness of that society. You understand how these things are patterned.
It's a pattern.
You have, yeah.
So that means can be changed from childbirth. You can start reorienting. Do you think poverty is because of it, or is something that from childbirth?
Poverty is part of it, but not just material poverty, mental poverty, psychological poverty, which is the worst than all sorts of poverty. I grew up in Igbo land at a time when rally bicycle was the ultimate. It was sold for 19 naira. If you don't have money for rally bicycle, you go and buy Hero bicycle. Hero was made in China. Rally was made in England. You go and buy Hero bicycle. Hero was 65 naira. There were so many families that couldn't afford any of the bicycles. They were poor. But also, some of these families also had dignity. Some of these men who come to your house, you call them to come and eat. They say, no, I have eaten. You know yourself that they have not eaten. But they have dignity in their poverty. You get it? They are materially poor, but they are not psychologically poor. They still carry themselves with a certain level of pride. We've lost it. We've lost it. That's why now we have people who will go to a burial of a 25-year-old man or a 25-year-old woman, and they will be fighting over rice and beer. So, when people are doing that kind of thing and they think it's normal, when I look at them, I bleed in my heart because I know what they're suffering from. I know that their consciousness have been so numbed that they don't know an abnormality from normality. The abnormal has become normal to them. So they're living in alternate reality. And living in alternate reality, they are subhuman beings. So when I look at them, when we're growing up in Igbo land, real men don't eat at burials. Real men. Some of us were the last generation that were initiated into manhood. original format of initiation into manhood, where you go and live in the bush for 14 days and 14 nights, where you go and do all those kind of things. And they teach you a lot of things about valor, about pride, about what you should do and what you cannot do. Real men don't go into burials and start begging for food and start fighting over food. Not to talk of eating at the burial of somebody you are older than. It used to be an abomination in Igbo land. But today, it is a kind of a celebration. Men will come to the burial of a 40-year-old. They will start asking for a bottle of Glenfiddich. It's crazy. I experienced one. He came and asked, one man came and said if they don't bring Macallan 12, that he doesn't eat, drink anything. At the burial of a 50-year-old, I just held myself from talking. But these are the kind of men we are, who are betting the next generation. So if those men are behaving like this, what do you think that the generation that are going to be?
That's what I'm saying. Is it possible for that to be changed?
It will take time.
To take time.
Cultural reorientation takes time. And in this level, it is a top-bottom, not a bottom-top solution. The solution is top-bottom. You remember when Dr. Socio-Economic Deca died? He said that he should be buried under 48 hours and there should be no entertainment and all those kind of things. That was former Secretary of Unrealistic. I mean, that was one of the most prominent and most respected Igbo men of this era. He was buried under 48 hours. People flew in from Abuja, from Lagos, from everywhere, and immediately they finished the burial. The way he said it, everybody left. If more people start doing that, so that we start seeing burial and funeral as a kind of mourning, what it's supposed to be, instead of what we have turned it into. That's how these things change. But you know, a poor man will not do that. They will say it's because you don't have money. But it is rich men that can do that. Everybody will know he has money, but he doesn't want to do it. And and in doing that, you are also empowering the poor man so that he can give an example. After all, Dr. Socio-Economic Deca died and nobody did anything. That's the thing. But if you can't be bottom up, it should be top bottom. So I mean, those are the hem of it can be able to show the example. That's why the people we call our political leaders. I mean, your political leader cannot be taking a hair barbing allowance of 500,000 naira, and you say you won't be able to pay 100,000 naira as minimum wage. Whereas the person who's taking hair barbing allowance of 500,000 does not have a single hair. You get it? He doesn't have a single hair. I mean, you live in a country whereby it's horrible. Whereby the country feeds the president, the food of the president, the food of the vice president, his medical allowance, everything about him, his wardrobe, and all those kind of things of the president, the vice president, the governors, deputy governors, senate president, all the senators, and all those kind of things. You cannot do that in America. I mean, if you visit Joe Biden on a private visit to the White House, the food that will be served there from the White House kitchen, Joe Biden will pay for it. A private visit. Wow. Joe Biden will pay for it from his own pocket. If Joe Biden's daughter, or maybe when Obama was there, Sasha or Malia did their birthday in the White House, the cost of the food, that party of the birthday, Obama paid from his pocket. Not America. You can't do it in Nigeria now. It will be eaten into Nigerian budget that the president's daughter is doing a birthday. It has to be in our budget. We'll pay for it.
Wow.
They are feeding. They're feeding. Obama's feeding. Joe Biden's feeding. It's not America that pays for their feeding.
Wow. I want us to look at it now holistically and also go into Africa in general. Now, in your opinion, what are the most pressing development challenges facing Africa today?
The poverty. Lack of political will. But before you have a political will, you have to have visionary leadership.
Visionary leadership.
You have to have a leadership that understands where the world is going today. And there is need for Africa integration.
Okay.
The African economy is not up to the size of the economy of California in the United States.
The combined African
combined African economy is not up to, is it up to 2 trillion? No, not up to 2 trillion. The economy of California, if California in the United States is a country, it will be the 5th largest economy in the world.
Can you imagine?
Let me shock you a little bit. The budget for basic education. Okay, the education budget of New York City. I'm not saying New York State. New York City is the local government of New York, like Lagos Island local government. The education budget of New York City is the size of the national budget of Nigeria. I'm talking about education budget of New York City. I'm not talking about the budget of the New York local government. The budget of New York City is
wow.
So, and you can look at Nigeria, then you ask about what is the budget of Nigeria? Budget of 200 million people. How much are you budgeting for 200 million people? It's lesser than South Africa is budgeting for less than 50 million people. It's lesser than Morocco is budgeting for about 30-something million people. So you get some of these things. These are some of the challenges.
Which of the African countries still have it going?
Yeah. Yeah, you have so many. You have some countries like Seychelles, Mauritius. I mean, they've moved out of poverty level, you know, this kind of thing. Then you see a lot of countries that are also doing very well. You know, Rwanda is doing very well. You know, Egypt is growing massively, even though they're having a lot of challenges. Some of the challenges Nigeria is having, but in the areas they have comparative advantage, they are doing so well. In the area of agriculture, go and check. I mean, go and check massively. Morocco is doing very well. Morocco is the largest exporter of cars in Africa today. Go to Morocco and see what's happening, how massive the economy is. I mean, let me tell you, if you're in a place like Spain, maybe Madrid or Barcelona or any of those Valencia or those, and they just blindfolded you. Put you in a plane and you land in Morocco, either Rabat, Casablanca, or Marrakesh, and they put you out in the street and open the blindfold. The only thing that will tell you that it is not Spain will be the Arabic signs on the inscriptions. Apart from that, the infrastructure, the road network, buildings, everything is the same.
Wow. Wow. So apart from poverty as one of the challenges, and what else?
Poverty is a challenge. I talk about leadership. Leadership. Very, very important. Very, very important. I mean, African leaders are, it's crazy. It's crazy. Where are you going to start? Where are you going to? Some of them have stayed there since almost 40 years and they've not been able to achieve some of those things. You know, now Africa is in the crossroad. Now people are talking about, should Africa continue with democracy or should Africa go with a kind of hybrid democracy, autocratic democracy, all those kind of, or some of the things you see in some of the Arab countries like Qatar, all those kind of places. Nobody talks about democracy, but people are focusing on human development and the countries are growing massively. Look at UAE, look at Qatar, look at Kuwait, look at even Saudi Arabia presently under this man. They're going on this stuff. Nobody's talking about democracy. Look at China. China is the most devolved, administratively devolved country in the world, but people don't know.
Wow.
Highly devolved. So nobody's talking about it.
That is autocratic.
People say, yeah, that's some of those things are labeling. What you have to ask yourself, do you prefer? No, this what I'm saying now is not. I'm not trying to promote one system over another. But one thing I'm trying to say is that any society or any system that has failed in providing the people the basic things that makes human human. That society that system deserves to be changed. And that's why I've been telling people in the last 50 years or so, every country that has been able to climb up to advancement moved from autocracy to democracy. All those that moved into advancement, I mean democratic advanced societies, like South Korea. All these things you're seeing in South Korea, they were done by General Park. It was General Park that set up the chaebols. The chaebols were the first, I would say, one of the most prominent state capitalist companies in the world. The chaebols, the Hyundai, Samsung, Daewoo, LG, which was formerly Lucky Gold Star, and one other one. They are the chaebols. They are about 6 or 7. Government pumped in money into them, and they became major conglomerates. I mean, you live here now in Nigeria now. When you talk about Hyundai, people think about cars. Hyundai and Kia, people think about it. But when you go to South Korea, you see doors made by Hyundai. You see toilet seats, Hyundai. You see gas cooker, Hyundai. You see gas cooker, Samsung. You know, all these people are into everything. You see office desk, Samsung. Office desk, LG. Toilet, wash hand basin, toilet, LG. So these people make everything, from slippers to shoes to clothes. They make everything. But they weren't always like that. But you know, one thing I used to tell people is, when you see people, you can't tell a man who is unable to put food on his table that you can't tell him the value of his fundamental human rights. Fundamental human right doesn't make meaning to him if he cannot put food on the table for the family, and you are telling somebody is trampling on his human rights. You say, what has the human rights done for me? What have I been doing with the human rights? So that's why it is still easy to give somebody 2,000 and buy his vote. So until we get to a level whereby we raise people out of poverty, out of that escapism, out of that survival mode mentality, then they get to a level whereby their food, basic needs, food, clothing, health, school, all these things are taken care of. That's when also, that's when people can choose rightly. Not only that, that's also when people can stand up and they walk away from corruption. But as things are now, if you walk away from corruption because you want to be a good man in your office, you come home and hunger kills you. Your people will kill you. Your people will fight you. So you see, to make a society work, you also have to make it easier for people to behave. You get it?
Yes. All these factors you listed, are they the key factors that could drive the continent's economic growth, or there are other aspects?
There are other factors, but you have to start from the basic. You know, I told you about the infra and the structure.
Okay.
There has to be the infra and there have to be the structure. Okay. So you have to lay the foundation for some of these things to take place, of which without the foundation, you are building on a quicksand. So those are the foundations you have to lay on. Look at Senegal. Senegal has been able, over time, from the time of Abdou Diouf, they've been able to harness their people together, and they tell a leader, no, we don't want you. They bring another person. They've been able to do it consecutively for the third time now, and they were able to put in a 45-year-old guy in power. You see, they are laying that foundation. They are laying that foundation for people to be able to speak up, for people to be able to stand for what they believe. So these are some of the challenges we're having. You need a society that is also informed. And you can't have an informed society if you don't have quality education. Quality education is not about a certificate. You have to have a society that is conscious. Conscious.
Okay.
Nigerians are unconscious. Nigerians are they're living in a comatose state. They don't nothing. So those are some of the challenges we have.
Now, what when it comes to youth unemployment and also brain drain, which is the Japa syndrome. Now, do you think this situation that is happening is also one of the trends that is causing people to run away from the country? And how can that be solved?
How can you solve it? There's no way you can solve it unless you create situations that generate hope.
Situations that generate hope.
People have to have hope. So some of us are still in Nigeria today because we had hope that things are going to be all right, but we've regretted that hope we had. So if I stayed back when I had the opportunity to leave this country 24 years ago, I had the opportunity to travel and stay there for about 3 months, 4 months, and I came back because I was thinking that Nigeria is going to be okay. I came back. Now, after coming back, now I see what's happening and I regret it. So do you think I will allow my son to make that mistake, in quote? I'm not going to allow my son to make that mistake.
If we are all running away, how is it going to build a nation?
There will still be people. But the thing is that what will happen is that the nation will lose the quality people. And the more you keep on losing quality people, the more the touts will keep on taking over. Because also, a lot of people who are in power, inside them, they don't want to have quality people around, because quality people are always those who are pointing them out, who are trying to hold them to accountable to their promises. Yes. So, and that makes them uncomfortable. So what do? They create chaos. They create chaos. They improvise on all those things so that quality people will find it very uncomfortable to live in this society, whereby those who will be hailing them every time they come out of their car will fill the whole place, because those people are easier to manage.
Now, also, when it comes to foreign aid, how effective do you think is the foreign aid that Nigeria is getting, Africa is getting, and what is the potential?
There's a book, Zambisa Moyo. She wrote one book, Dead Aid. That book got a lot of acclaim, a lot of criticism, and a lot of things. But a lot of people don't understand the concept of aid. And that was why it pushed China to kind of change their style of aid. Then what people used to do, some of these foreign countries, they will tell you, they will declare that they're giving, say, Nigeria or say Benin Republic or Togo, say 500 million naira development aid in the health sector. Everybody will clap. But out of that 500 million naira they're giving you, you will discover that up to 70% are not going to come in cash. Yeah, out of that 500 million naira, there will be some consultants that will come from that country that will be part of the implementation team. Those consultants are going to be paid at international salary rates. And these consultants, most of them are going to live in 5-star hotels. If the period of that thing is going to run for 2 years or 3 years, they will live in 5-star hotels. And they will need Land Cruisers. And most of the food they're going to eat, they're going to be importing it from their country of origin. You get it? And another thing is that some of the health aid, some of the materials, they're going to say that we want to build a hospital. You find out that all the materials they're going to use to equip that hospital are going to come from their country. And it's going to come from their country tariff-free, but at a cost that is likely higher than market cost. Those things are inside the money they've given you. You get it?
Yeah.
Then those consultants that are coming from their countries, these consultants are also going to have fat security allowance, because they will say, because your country has a lot of security challenges, they are going to have fat security allowance. So they will employ some security agents to be protecting them at a very high exorbitant rate. They will have all sorts of allowance. So in the long run, they've given you $500 million for health. Then when you start looking for those, you will see some cars, they will write it from the so and so aid, from either the German aid or from the French aid, some four-wheel drive cars or some Hilux, Toyota Hilux and all those kind of thing cars. Those are some of the things you will see. But where is the money to go and build a health center in my town, in Mbisen? Because that's what the aid is supposed to do. Where is the money to go and build a health center in Kaura Namoda? Where is the money to go and build a kind of mother and child basic health facility? No. 70% of the aid they're giving you has gone into materials and remunerations and contract and all those kind of things. Then you won't see. Then in the long run, they say they're giving you aid. And some of them, they will say also, certain loan, they will give you some loans and they will tell you where to use that loan and how to use it and who will be the contractors. In the long run, you won't see anything. So when China came up with their own system, whereby if they say they're going to give you 500 million naira loan, and they will say that 500 million naira loan, we're going to give it to you in a form of a bridge that will cross this river, connecting town A to town B, and it will have about 70 kilometers road, 35 on one side, 35 on one side. Then they will bring CCECC to come and build it. You get it? That's their own aid.
That's their own way they do it.
And when CCEC is building it, they will bring Chinese engineers, Chinese technicians, Chinese everything, and all kind of thing to build it. That's their own aid. But no country ever develops based on aid, foreign aid. You will never ever develop based on foreign aid.
So you should stop collecting foreign aid.
Not that you should start collecting foreign aid. You should sit at the table and negotiate and determine how the foreign aids are going to be. And you shouldn't have hyenas within your own folks who will go behind and collect some stipends to sabotage your efforts to be able to stand your ground. Another problem with Africa, I was watching one video, was it yesterday? One American guy said that he went to one drug lord from New York, went to China, and he met some Chinese mafians, and they tell them something. They were talking, and they were extolling how black people were making inroads into issues like entertainment, music, film, all this culture changing, fashion and all this kind of thing. But they say something. They say the Chinese mafia lord say, but you people have one problem. You have one problem. Your problem is that you are too easy to break. You don't have unity. You are too easy to break. And that it is so unfortunate that you can't even organize a crime. You can't even run well-organized crime syndicates. Wow. Because you are so easy to penetrate and to break. So that same discipline that is needed to run an organized crime syndicate is the same discipline that is needed to run an organized society.
Wow. Excellent. Now, also, I want to go to, with all that is happening in the country currently, and there's no way that seems to be coming out of it, or how can people do about it? Now, I'm thinking you have some idea of the French Revolution, the 18th century. Can you describe it a little bit and see if that can apply? If Nigeria,
you see, every successful revolution in the world, you see, Karl Marx and Engels, they miss certain things in what they call the revolution of the proletariat. The proletariat cannot overthrow the bourgeoisie class. It cannot happen without the input of the bourgeoisie class. There has never been any successful revolution that was transformational, that brought about change in the world without the input of the elite class. when Fidel Castro and Raul Castro and Che Guevara led the Cuban Revolution, Fidel Castro and Raul Castro were sons of a multi-millionaire sugar merchant. People fail to understand that they were the elite of the elite. And they fail to understand that Che Guevara was a medical doctor. These people are not the masses. They're not the proletariats. Every successful revolution that has ever taken place and succeeded, you have the elite. Until the elite turn against fellow elite, there's not going to be a change.
Are you serious? So it means there's nothing we can do?
No, you're not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Until you have somebody from that level stand up and take on, what Obi tried to do, that kind of thing.
Okay.
It has to be people, it has to be break the rank. Until you break the rank and have people who, Abiola tried it. It almost worked. Abiola belonged there. It almost worked. Obi tried it. It almost worked. You see that kind of, those are the kind of people who can come out, and when they come out, you don't have to say, because you did this, because you were part of it. No. Even in the French Revolution, Danton and Robespierre, were they the proletariats? They are not proletariats. Even they died. They didn't even succeed in moving the revolution to its conclusive part. It was even people from the elite that came. Check even the Bolshevik revolution in Russia. It's also the elite class. The masses, you just need the masses to huddle together, but you also need the elite, because they are the ones who knows the weakness, they know the secret, they know where to hit and all those kind of things.
So all we're going to
so that's what we have to. Nigerians have to put pressure. The masses have to continue piling pressure on their elite class, hold them responsible, even if it means shaming them or those kind of things. Kind of emotional blackmail. Emotionally blackmail them into taking responsibility. That's the only way we're going to come out of it. But Nigeria is a very complicated case because of identitarian politics, whereby people have so much allegiance to their ethnic group and their religion than to Nigeria. And I used to tell people, if our allegiance is to our ethnic groups more than the nation, why not devolve power along ethnic lines so that every country can, every of the section of the country can grow based on what works for them and in their own pace.
Sure. That means we'll keep running in a second.
I'm afraid so.
I want to go a little bit of history because of the ethnic tension that's been happening back and forth within the north, south, and east. Now, you should have some, I mean, definitely the deep knowledge of the Biafran War and how it has happened. Now, how do you think that war has happened to shape Nigeria to make it to become what it is today? And how can Nigeria begin to outturn that history and make it and give it that?
No, because you see, the present owners of Nigeria were the gainers from the Biafran War.
Okay.
And when they came into power and take ownership of the nation as a result of the Biafran War, they had an agreement. When ultimately they took ownership, they had an agreement, and that agreement was to continue to maintain the status quo. And the continued maintenance of the status quo is, according to them, the only way that they can remain in control of their power. The owners, when during the Biafran War, the Igbos lost, and they lost out. And by losing, they also lost out in the power equation. You get it?
Okay.
Whereas the other ethnic nationalities gained ascendancy against that backdrop. And the getting ascendancy against that backdrop, to them now, it becomes a situation whereby, he who holds someone on the ground is also holding himself. So for them to remain for them to remain, have the stranglehold within the nation, they also have to make sure that the Igbo nation does not rise to that power equation. But when you also subdue a significant demographic within your population because of hold of power, you are also denying your society ability to tap into whatever talent or whatever they can tap if we have a kind of a system whereby there is a kind of equality and fairness. So you either decide, should we run a country whereby I don't know which national anthem now I have to remember now, some of the things we said that I have to claim now, because the new old national anthem said that though tribe and tongue may differ, in brotherhood we stand. We have never stood in brotherhood. So which brotherhood are you standing when tribe and tongue differs? Like I told you earlier, that Nigerians owe more allegiance to their ethnic nationality than to the nation Nigeria. That's why I told you earlier that Nigeria is an orphan. So if tribe and tongue differ, and from over the last 50 years, Nigerians have been huddling and cuddling their tribe and cuddling their tongue. So which brotherhood, what is giving what is the brotherhood standing again? There's no brotherhood.
So that means you don't even like the fact that they change the national anthem.
Is unnecessary. It's just a very hopeless. It doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. So you look at some of those things. The things we claim, we don't abide by them. We are just paying lip service to some of these things. So if you are not abiding with what you claim, so how do you expect to make gains from it? So it's a very complex situation we are in. We're in a very complex situation. And because of how complex the situation is, we are not likely to move forward. We are not likely to come out of it. And that's why I keep on telling a lot of Igbo leaders, and some of these things, these are easy things. You see, you don't need to keep on aspiring to Abuja. You see, you don't need to keep on aspiring to Abuja. Right. You can, and what I think they should. And that was when all these people started talking about Biafra. I told them, I said, have you watched Ojukwu's last interview before he died? Where he proposed the idea of Biafra of the mind instead of Biafra of territory. Go deep and study about the Biafra of the mind. And when you study the Biafra of the mind, some of the tenets of the Biafra of the mind is, why not pursue economic Biafra instead of political Biafra?
How do you do that?
You pursue economic Biafra. Why not think about making the entire Southeast a superpower economic hub? Why not think about making the Southeast, connecting the economies of the Southeast through super economic integration, whereby every state will grow based on its own comparative advantage. Then you look at Anambra State, technology, small and medium scale enterprises. Then you look at Abia State, Aba, industries, major industry. Then you look at when you look at Imo State, you find that they can be the shopping mall, super Dubai shopping mall, whereby you have mall, you have leisure, all those kind of things. Then you look at Ebonyi, you become the food basket, the agricultural hub of the region. Then you look at Enugu State. Let me tell you what people don't know. The tourist site in Enugu State is, they've not even scratched. People don't even know 20% of it. You can turn Enugu State into a global tourist attraction center. And you see, when you do these things, you stop your young people from leaving that region to other region in search of jobs. You create opportunities. I mean, Michael Obara did this thing.
Some of these issues that we are talking about and some of these development that we're talking about can fully be done once power has been devolved. That is the essence why they're talking about the development of power.
Let me tell you.
Able to change.
He's not going to change anything. Presently, no matter how faulty the present constitution is, you have to ask yourself, what are on the exclusive list? What are on the concurrent list? How many things are within the concurrent list? All these things I've already told you now are things you can do within the concurrent list. You don't need any exclusive list. Exclusive list is about defense, is about the currency, is about foreign affairs, is about the foreign diplomacy, and all those kind of things. All these things I'm telling you now are under the concurrent list. What have you done with what you have in the concurrent list? Look at what is happening in our education. Look at what is happening in our rural development. Our education system is crumbling. Primary education system is crumbling. Visit there now, you find out that it is the communities that are now renovating the primary schools. The state governments have stopped funding some of those things. It's the communities now that are recruiting teachers and paying them, villagers. You see, these are a concurrent list. Nobody is doing it. Nobody stops us from making Ebonyi State the super power agricultural agro-industrial hub of the region. Nobody will stop you. You can do it. Nobody stops you from promoting Enugu State. Look at what's happening in Akwa Ibom State. Look at how they have consistently continued marketing Akwa Ibom State. Not only as a livable state, not only as a place now where people are now trooping to Akwa Ibom State for real estate and all those kind of things. Look at the stadium they built there and how they are attracting super egos to come and play there and those kind of things. That's how these are issues if we are supposed to do, state governors are supposed to do. You don't need the federal government to achieve some of those things. But you see, because we have been beaten so much. And we've been beaten so much, we have been mentally ingrained with the fact that they don't like us. So because of that, our elite, corrupt elite, are hiding under that. They get into power, they don't do what they're supposed to do. Because they have us to fall back. And we say, because we are from this place, that's why nobody is helping us. That's why nobody is attracting government presence and those kind of things. What of state government presence? What are you doing with that? Okay, look at Ebonyi State, what Omahi did in Ebonyi State in 8 years. Yet Ebonyi State has the least allocation from the federal allocation in the whole of Southeast. But they achieved what these other states have not been able to achieve infrastructurally in the last 20 years. So if Omahi can achieve it in Ebonyi State, what stops every other person? Okay, look at Abia State, what's happening in Abia State in the last 1 year. Imagine that what OT has achieved in Abia State has been like that for the past 20 years. Where do you think Abia State would have been today? So they have opened, you see, some of these things, we have to open our minds and think outside this box of, they don't want us until we have this, we won't be this, until we have this, we won't be this, and those kind of things. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
So you don't follow the idea of independent Biafra.
Does it make sense? What are you independent to? It doesn't make sense. You see, everything you want to achieve as an independent Biafra, you can still achieve it within the present system you have now. But you have to have people who are thinking. What is causing our people all this is frustration, poverty, erosion of values. Like what I discussed with you, what I said earlier about barriers and all those kind of things. Is it Nigeria that is causing it? No, is it Nigeria that is causing some of those value erosion? It's not Nigeria that is causing it. It is us. But we are not willing to accept responsibility because over time we have blamed outsiders for so long. about our situation, that it has got stuck into us, that everything that's happening to us, like they say that let everything that beat us in the night, let we blame it on the mosquito.
But
so it has become
that those things that are on the exclusive list are more superior power than those that are on the concurrent list to cause development in those regions.
Now ask yourself, what is on the exclusive list presently that is of more superior power to cause development? Is it control of the armed forces? Is it control of currency? Is it control of internal affairs, prisons and all those things? Is it control of international diplomacy and all those kind of things? The infrastructure is on the concurrent list. Not Rose is on the concurrent list. So nobody stops is now on the concurrent list. This is what Naji did in Aba. Did anybody stop him? So what stopped every state in the southeast from doing a similar thing, or from them pulling resources together to have a kind of southeast power? What stops them? Nobody is stopping them. But you see, part of this, nobody has sat down and itemized this thing so that people understand it. Is it building of industries? It's not on the exclusive list. We can do it ourselves. Is it education? It's not. Is it health? It's not. Is it rural development? It's not. Who is stopping us? We are the ones stopping ourselves, because we too are also ostriching. We are ostriching because we are playing the victim. We have played these victim cards for so long. I say, our people, let us accept our lot the way it is, but let us ask ourselves, what can we do with the lemon that's been thrown to us? Can we make a lemonade? Let's start from a lemonade. Maybe after lemonade, we'll be able to have an apple juice.
Wow, there's a lot of sense in what you said. Okay, now I want to come back to Nigeria and the high rate of unemployment that we have currently. And do you think the youths are not doing enough to get themselves working and to get themselves employed? Or you think that is also within the powers of the government to create employment?
The opportunities are so... they used to say that talent is universal. But opportunities are not.
Okay.
Opportunities are so limited. Opportunities are so limited.
Opportunities of getting yourself to work or to do something.
Opportunities everywhere. We are used to, when people talk, I sit down, I do a lot of analysis. I sit down and analyze a lot of things. You see, a lot of young people are trying. But there are also a lot of young people that have been misled. That's why you have a lot of Yahoo hookups and all those kind of things. Everybody is doing everything. Now they are tapping. Everybody is now tapping on their phone. They want to be millionaires every day. So everybody, because over time, our elite class also, due to their way of life and their lifestyle, they've been able to promote indolence.
Okay.
So, and there's been a lot of value erosion. That the things that matters, we're not counting things that don't count. So, but the thing is that someone have to tell us that it is not everything that can be counted should be counted. Okay. But nobody is telling us some of this. One is that opportunities are limited. I spoke earlier about manufacturing companies and factories operating at lower capacity. Why if you're operating at lower capacity, it means that this factory is supposed to be run by 100 factory hands and they're operating at 30%. It means they're going to have 30 factory hands. The other 70, what are they going to do? They'll be laid off. They keep on roaming the street, or they keep on playing Bet Niger and all those kind of things. So opportunities are limited on one side. On the second side, a lot of young people are also being misled into seeking for get rich quick syndrome. It's all over the place. So they're being misled. So some of them that could have harnessed their talents in some areas are not doing so. Then those who are also putting their talents in some areas, the systems are also stacked against them. It's stacked against them because it is quite an expensive venture. trying to run a business in this country is not for the faint-hearted. It's very hard. And not to talk of young people. And also, we don't have, like they have in some Asian countries, where they have a kind of pool of funds that help, young entrepreneurs, startup funds. They have a lot of startup funds in Vietnam, in all those places, that help some of these young people to cushion the initial effect of failure, because failure can be very damning. People experience failure and they don't go again. But until you have something you fall back on, when you fail, you'll be able to stand up. If you go to Googleplex, the complex of Google campus, they said here, we fail forward. So that, tell our people to fail forward, so that when you fail forward, you can stand up. But when you fail backward, you'll be able to stand up. And the type of people, they said that if you're not failing, it means that you're not trying. But you have to be in a system, in a society, where people are encouraged to try and fail, keep on trying, don't give up. So you can't do this. So there are a lot of things. Opportunities are not there. And these opportunities are around all some of these things I've itemized. They are not there for them. They are not there to give them that cushioning effect, that sand. Years ago when we were growing up, if a child, there's what we can't translate in English, we call it ihia ajanupu. When a child is about to learn how to sit down, you put that child down and you use sand to put around the child, wrap the child's waist. So that sand will hold where. So even if that child falls down, that sand will be as a kind of cushion. So there is also both a psychological and economic ihiajanuku.
Okay.
Young people need to have some of those things, and that's why in some parts of European countries they have a kind of systems whereby they've copied our apprenticeship system. Now, for Igbo people, as I was saying, we need to expound and expand the apprenticeship system. Then we need to bring back our technical schools. Years before, there used to be 3 major technical schools in Nigeria, and interestingly, 2 were in Igbo land: Enugu Technical School and Anyhowness Technical College. The other one was Japa Technical College. So without this technical college, now you see you can't get people who will be able to lay tires properly. You can't get plumbers properly, and these are skills that are welders. These are skills that carpentry. Joining and those kind of things. Nobody takes it and gives exam anymore. These are skills that are well needed all over the world. We need to, that's where Igbo land should start. Revive all those technical colleges, Enugu Technical College, Owerri Technical College, Aba Technical College, Anyhowness Technical College. Revive all of them. Let them go into all those courses, mechanics, painting, plumbing, all those kind of things. Let them do it. Those are where we can give our young people so that they will be able to stand. And Igbo land cannot grow until it stops mass migration of its youth outside Igbo land. And the only way to stop it is to create opportunities for them within Igbo land.
Some of the challenges, once people as an entrepreneur, like as an Igbo entrepreneur, there are some witch hunting, and that are limiting you to do some certain things, like, if not because of what Allen Onyema is struggling to make sure that he does what he wants to do. If you look, you will see this witch hunting that is happening within his business. So these are some of the. Are you going to call these things psychologically?
Yeah, but let me
say issues that are currently facing that is not because of the Nigerians.
The issue is now. You see, I'm not some of these things. I do not deny the existence of prejudices. But what you have to understand is that prejudices are also a double-edged sword.
Okay.
There's the one you can be self-prejudiced against yourself, self-sabotage by assumption of a prejudice. You can assume that somebody hates you, and because you assume that somebody hates you, you will not be able to explore opportunities you are supposed to do that might scale you up beyond that level because of that assumption. Assumption can be a limiting factor, but there are also existing prejudice that's there. But what you have to ask yourself now, you give an example with Allen Onyema and APs. Okay, if Allen Onyema is struggle had to fight extra hard because he's an Igbo man to be able to establish APs, how come other people from other parts of the country who are not Igbo and they are into airlines, how come they have not done better than Allen Onyema? How come they have not used those available opportunities that are not staked against them to do better than Allen Onyema? How come? There are other airlines that are owned by other Nigerians that are not Igbo. How come they are not doing better than Allen Onyema? How come recently United Nigeria joined the fray, is owned by an Igbo man, and is also pulling his weight, and is still there. Whereas other airlines that are owned by people who are not Igbo people, how come they have not used that advantage they have against Igbo people? How come they have not used it to be bigger? Have you thought about that? So that's the way I think. How come, if there is truly an advantage that they have because they are not Igbo, how come they have not used it to become a Dangote?
I think it's about the mindset.
And sometimes it might be that there's no existing prejudice against some of these businesses. It might be a two-way thing, because I mean, we had there's some of those airlines that were owned by some of the Northerners and all this kind of thing. You know, some of them, after some of them, they're not doing very well, even under a president and the minister of aviation that's also from their place. But they didn't do better than Allen Onyema. So how come? So that's why I tell people, let's pay little attention to some of these things. You see, look at China. You remember when China banned Huawei from semiconductors and all this kind of thing, and even caused the daughter of the owner of Huawei to be detained in Canada for almost 6 months. Chinese people cried, but they looked inwards. Because as at that time, iPhone was being threatened by the Huawei P series. After that time, they say, you can't have Huawei in Google, you can't have them in this operating system, you can't have them in all the other operating systems. They left and they designed their own operating system and they bounced back. Look at where they are today. Then it's not just that they're pulling their weight in mobile phone, cell phone area. Look at what they are doing now in the semiconductor chips industry. The only Chinese company that is giving NVIDIA and SMNC a run for their money now is Huawei. Now they're targeting the 5 millimeter chips. That's what they're targeting now. Look at where they are. You see, I want our people to always start seeing opportunity from some of these perceived grievances. Instead of sitting down and crying over the grievance, crying, let us start seeing opportunities.
Doing something with what you have with you already.
I mean, look, if you go to history, let me tell you, we are far more better advantaged today than we were in 1980. Yeah, 10 years after the war. Yet, 10 years after the war, Aba was the only city that was giving Lagos a run for its money in factories and industrialization. As at 1980, there was no major company that has office in Lagos without having a factory in Lagos without having an Aba. You have the PZ. Even PZ started in Aba before coming to Lagos. You have the PZ, you have the Liver Brothers, you have Nigerian Breweries, you have Guinness, you have all of them, Vitafoam, all of them that were in Lagos, they were in Aba. People were coming from Mali, people were coming from Senegal, people were coming from Gambia, people were coming from Chad to come to Aba. Aba was 1980, that was 10 years after the war. So what advantage did Aba had 10 years after the war that it did not have 20 years after the war, 30 years after the war, 40 years after the war? What advantage? Was there a seaport in Aba in 1980? No. Was there an airport? Was there an airport within how many kilometer radius of Aba? No. But today, there's an airport within 30 kilometers to Aba. Today, there's a power station. So ordinarily, today, Aba is at a better footing than it was in 1980. But in 1980, it was doing so well that people will graduate from Soka and they head to Aba to get a work. People will graduate from anywhere within the Southeast, from even Unical, Uniport, and all those things. They head to Aba to get a work. So what happened? You see, we have not been able to sit down and think. We've not been able to connect the dots. We have not been able to study pattern recognition. That's why we are missing some of these things. And that's my anger with the Igbo intelligentsia. They are so comfortable sitting down and wringing their fingers that nobody is thinking, nobody is asking questions.
When you see some of the major aspects or some of the major areas where most of the Igbos are very strong at, which is the imports and export and things like that, but you can see that part has been restricted from the federal by not creating an enabling seaport environment. So for things to be able to be done in that place, like everything, most of the things people have to come down to Lagos to do them and things like that.
Do you know
why can't those things be also be done?
Do you know that as at 90, let me tell you, give you an example. I'm not talking about 1980 now. Let me tell you. Do you know, before insecurity, before that time, OCC, Kankwa, and all those kind of things messed up Aba, do you know how many containers that will land in Lagos and they take it to Aba to open it, and people will come from Lagos to go to Aba to? Do you know part of the thing that started the boom in night buses were traders who were coming? And those traders are not only Igbo traders who were coming from Lagos to go to Aba to buy bales of clothing. Balogu was not even in contention to Aba when it comes to bales of clothing. Did they have seaports in Aba? They didn't have seaports in Aba. You see, you get some of these things. So those are some, you see, a market, no matter where it is located, business, no matter where it is located, if the products are top quality, it will attract demands from all over the world, irrespective of where it's located. So now, where instead of us talking about, okay, now, is there anything, is the seaport further away than it was in 1980? No. Even logistics has improved far more better. That you can stay in Lagos now and send a package to Aba, somebody will get it. And you can stay here now and buy something in Aba, and somebody will package it and send to you. So you see, a lot of things have improved for the best. So now some of the things we have to start looking at. You see, we see the problem we have in the Southeast is that when we hone our mind at a particular something, it blinds us from thinking of all other possible areas. Okay. Now, how many people are thinking about, yes, we are criticizing that the rail line they've renovated from Port Harcourt to Aba is the narrow gauge line, and is this. Now, can we start thinking about how can they extend that rail line to One port, so that goods, containers coming into that place can be freighted from One to Aba instead of using the road? You get it? It solves a lot of things. We need to start thinking in those areas. Now there's the Calabar port. There's another one, Ibeno port. So these are ports that are about less than 1 hour drive from Aba. So Aba is a junction city. How can we work on it? You remember there used to be Obuako city development that Roger Sokalo started. Obuako is at the junction, is at the boundary between River State and Abia State. And that is how cities develop. Why did he not carry it on? You build a brand new city at that junction, So a lot of people who work in Port Harcourt can live in Obuako. A lot of people who work in Aba can live in Obuako. Before you know it, Obuako becomes a satellite town, top-class satellite town, attract people from all over. What is thinking about this kind of thing? The Azumini River everybody is talking about is a blue river. It's one of the most, it is one of the most beautiful, clearest blue rivers in the world. Why are we not marketing Azumini River as a major international tourist attraction? So people can come there and build a kind of develop hotels and all those kind of things on there. You've seen Uguta Lake. Do you know the tourist potential of Uguta Lake? Why are we not looking at it?
Wow.
Why are we not looking at it? You can transform Uguta Lake into a major international tour. Start advertising it on CNN. People will be coming from all over the world. Uguta Lake. Just do all those boat regatta, do all those cruising, build chalice hotels, build, it has an international golf course, build more. Let Imo State government sponsor with some of the corporate organizations, sponsor international golf tournament. Uguta International Golf Tournament. Look at what people are doing in Dubai. Dubai Grand Prix, Qatar Grand Prix, all these other places. Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Dubai now, what Saudi Arabia is doing, they just bring every boxing competition in Saudi Arabia. Our people are stealing the money and throwing it away. Why not you do international tennis tournament at Opara? Build a world-class tennis court at Opara Square in Enugu and host an international tennis tournament instead of stealing 500,000 dollars and go and start it in Swiss bank. The $500,000 will be the prize money for the stars that will come. Then you give the winner 200,000, the other one 150,000, the other 150,000. Attract everybody from all over the world, and they will come. If they're not, they will come. When they come to watch tennis, but they will come to see other things. They'll come to see more opportunities in Enugu State. And apart from that, do you know the amount of forex it will bring? Do you know how it will impact the economy of that place within that period? If it's taking place for 1 week or 2 weeks, do you know now Roland Garros is taking place? Do you know what the France makes from that tennis tournament? That is how to start. You have to have leaders that think, not leaders that just in the night they just go and sit over a CAU and palm wine and all those kind of things and talk and they go.
Okay, I think it's about mindset. I think I understand it.
That's the way. I've studied this thing over in 50 countries. See how it works.
Okay, let's come out from that a little bit. Not enough to dwell more on that. Let's come to our Nigeria and its election system and its integrity. Now, based on in comparison with the last election that has happened and also the future elections that are coming up, what do you think, what policies or what do you think that can be done in order to improve our election system to ensure fairness?
The technology was almost perfect. Everything was almost there. What you just need is root away corruption from the system. Take away corruption from the system. That's the only thing you need. That's the basic thing you need. Look at India election. Do you know how many people who are going to vote in India? There are more voters in India than the population of Nigeria. 600 million voters in India. 600 million. A country is conducting election for 600 million voters. That's 3 times the population of Nigeria. And nobody is crying. My brother, we have not started.
What do you think there's anything that you think is going on that is good for Nigeria that other countries don't have or they're not enjoying?
The only thing that's going well for Nigeria is the resilience of the Nigerian people, the Nigerian spirit. The Nigerian spirit, the go-getter nature of the Nigerian people, that wherever they go, I travel a lot. Wherever they go, people see. But the issue is that until we start achieving as a group instead of as individual, we are not going to make the right impact.
Wow. Wow. Okay, now as we begin to wind down, you remember one of the posts that you talked about the fact that the whole lot of junks that is coming up in the internet space, and what you try to do is to try to elevate the discourse so that you can drop out a lot of. But why do you think also? Why do you think is it humans general or Nigerians generally crave things of entertainment or those things? That
It's not a Nigerian thing.
Yeah, it's humans emotion.
Yeah,
Why do you think humans just crave things of entertainment and intellectual things that's going to impact their life or change their
because
mindset generally?
It's easier to watch a young lady shaking breast or shaking bumbo and laughing about it than to start thinking about some of these things I've itemized here now,
Yes.
trying to connect now. It gets your mind, you start thinking. It's easier to watch somebody coming and make a joke about something, everybody laugh. It's not a Nigerian thing. But the brain, because the brain reward system activates more when issues of entertainment, when issues, especially sexually explicit contents are seen, the brain reward system activates more. It gets more this thing. It's like a dopamine. It gets more activated than when you see the GDP or the GNP of the inflation rate or this kind of thing. That one puts it down. Do you know why international television stations use beautiful women to cast business news?
Why?
That's the only thing that can get old men with money to invest to listen. It's psychology. It's a media psychology. People don't know.
So the brain rewards just
It's the brain. So that's what the brain wants. And this thing has been itemized. Carl Gustav Jung has done a lot of work in this area of psychology.
Jung.
So yeah,
Is a book.
no, he's one of the earliest psychologists, psychoanalysts that delved into this area.
He has a book.
Yeah, he has so many books he has written.
Okay, Gustav Jung.
Yeah, Carl Gustav Jung. The Jung is J-U-N-G, is German.
Okay,
Yeah.
J-U-N-G. Okay.
You know, J in German is pronounced like Y.
Like why?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Wow.
so
Wow. That's very interesting. Okay, can you share one interesting story that you've experienced in one of your travels that has impacted your approach to life?
there are so many. I learn every day. Every situation. You know, I remember the last time I was with my last son. He is 15, and he was telling me he went and complained to his mother. He said that why this man doesn't pay attention to anything, entertainment thing and those kind of things. Why is it that he's always reading boring stuff and studying boring stuff? So I turned everything into a kind of learning curve. It's, so I have had issues that I first, I used to write about the Japanese society a lot.
Yes.
Because I think that when it comes to human civilization, if there is a cadre of human civilization, the Japanese are
At the top.
at the top than every other person.
Oh,
Yeah,
combined.
every other
US.
person. Every other person. No, the US didn't. The US can't make the top 10 anyway.
Wow.
Yeah, the Japanese are at the cadre of human civilization, human refinement,
Wow.
how humans should be human as you should be. I mean, you enter into a public transport in Japan like a train, you won't hear a phone ring.
Wow.
Almost everybody's phone is in silent, and either they have this, and they talk as if it's in whisper. Because they believe that if your phone rings, it is like a kind of you are being disrespectful to the next person because you are disrupting the harmony of that environment.
Wow.
So they don't do it. So they've taught me a lot. Studying some of the way they behave and some of the things they do. Like I wrote the other time about exchanging of business cards.
Yes, yes.
You don't give a Japanese a business card and they just take it and put it inside their pocket. No. They will hold it, look at it, study it, ask you questions about the company, ask you questions about your title. What do you do? How have you been doing it? How has it impacted? They ask you questions. It is seen as a respect to what you do, the dignity of labor attached to your work. But if you collect their card and you just throw it in, it is seen as disrespectful that you don't care about the person who owns this card. You know, they believe that when you look at you know, that conversation you are having with that person is the thing that ingrains in your mind. So that anytime you remember that person, is that conversation, those information will flow. Those are some of the things they do. And another thing I found out about them is the issue of time. Time. You know, the biggest challenge the African man has is African man has not been able to properly appraise the place of time in his scheme of things. And every society that does not have respect and value for time are still operating at a primitive level. Escaping human primitivism within a societal equation is your ability to raise human beings that say that we are going to be here by 2 o'clock, and by 2 o'clock everybody is here, and they say that this meeting is going to take place from 2 to 3. And from 2 to 3, everything that should be discussed will be discussed. And it happens like that. That's how the brain start working towards ability to itemize, articulate, and understand how to use time productively, efficiently, and effectively. And without those early stages, the brain will not be able to be fully optimized to achieve all it has to achieve. So those are the things, you know, because I remember
African time.
I remember the first time I went to England. I went to a train station. I bought ticket. I waited for almost 1 hour, 20 minutes. The train was supposed to leave by, you know, the train leaves, say, every 20 minutes from, say, 6:30 to about 9. Then after 9, it gives gap till evening again. It starts arriving. So I left about to 12 or something like that. I waited until I got tired. But the train was supposed to leave 12:45. Do you know by 12:44, that train station that was empty got filled up?
Wow.
So I started thinking about it. That's when I found out that they've already known the timetable, everything.
Not
so they know when to leave their house and when to get to the train station. They will leave their house and get to the train station. At that time, the only thing they will do, they will get there either 1 minute or 30 seconds to when the train will arrive.
Okay, but typical Nigerians, because they know how our time.
Let me tell you, everything. I used to say it every time. Everything is connected to everything. Until we've been able to raise our brain wave to tap into this higher frequency compartmentalization of time, there are certain things we won't be able to keep our toilets clean at the airport.
Wow.
Everything is interconnected.
Now, okay, what are the questions? The question I want you to find out, answer some few fun questions is that now, in the presence of the challenges, the poverty, the hunger, all the troubles going on in the country, what do you think should an average man start doing now? What can Nigerians start doing to help themselves out of it all? In the face of all the challenges going on.
Just be alive. That's the best. The only thing you can be alive. Try as much as you can not to be sick. Because if you get sick, the cost of medication now is off the roof. The cost of going to the hospital now is off the roof. So many people will not be able to afford it. So be alive. I won't tell people to eat healthy because even eating healthy is so expensive these days. But if you can't afford to eat healthy, don't eat unhealthy so that it won't affect you.
So
That's basically
they can't afford to eat. They don't eat already. I think they don't to eat then.
Don't eat. No, you can eat, but don't gobble on unhealthy. I mean, when you ask yourself that instead of using 200 naira to buy a bottle of Coke, why not use that 200 naira to buy cucumber?
Okay.
You get it?
Yeah.
So sometimes when people eat unhealthy, it is not because the alternative is more expensive, but it's because their taste bud, their brain. If you've been feeding sugar into your system for a long time, the sugar takes control of your brain and takes control of what it wants you to eat at every particular time, and you become a slave to your appetite, to junks. So people who gobble up on junks, they don't do it out of their own volition. They are addicted, but they don't know that they're addicted. Sugar does something to your brain that by the time you feed on sugar for a long time, anytime you've not taken that thing, you start behaving like you're jonesing, like all these people who are on drugs and the withdrawal syndrome start showing until you take that sugar. Immediately you take that sugar. That's why when they take that Coke, but they don't know what's happening to them. They think it's normal. But it is us that have studied those things and can look at them from another angle. We know what this person is suffering from something, but he does not know.
The way should the entrepreneurial spirit come in, that someone that should go out there, work, do something with your hands?
Yeah, you see, whatever you are doing, hang in there. Hang in there. Because I don't want to say it's going to be better tomorrow. But I don't want to say that tomorrow is going to be worse. But you know something? Any society that has human beings, and the human beings are eating, going out every day, wearing clothes every day, doing all this kind of thing, there is a way when an economy reaches the nadir, it has no other place. It can't go down again. It will start looking for a way of coming up because there are still human beings. And some of these things are also, that's why, if the leaders can sell hope can generate a lot of optimism, and a lot of optimism can also help to lift the economy to a certain level.
Maybe this question I wanted to ask you that skipped my head. Do you think, is there a way that you think African countries can be able to improve their international relations like other countries? I heard that if you go to other countries, it's much easier to move from one European country.
Yeah, they've been talking about it through the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. Yeah, but the thing is that most of them have not been able to ratify that. That's what they should do, because some of these things, and you see some of these countries that are still closing, that don't want people to come in and all kind of thing. I look at some of these and ask myself, what am I going to do there? What am I going to do? So some of these things is that the earlier we open our borders, the better. The more, do you know, let me shock you, maybe it may not be a shock. Do you know that if you order a container of goods from Guangzhou in China to Lagos, and you order another one from South Africa, from say Cape Town or Durban in South Africa to Lagos, the one you ordered from Guangzhou, China, will get to Lagos before the one you order from South Africa. And that one from Guangzhou, China will also pass through South Africa to get to Lagos. It will get to Lagos faster, and also it is also at a cheaper rate than the one you ordered from South Africa. Trade barriers. Africa needs to start trading amongst itself. We need to trade more among ourselves. I want a situation whereby I will travel from here to say Cote d'Ivoire or go to Accra. You see a lot of, you see more made in Nigeria, made in Cote d'Ivoire, made in African products than you see foreign made products. Instead of having more of made in China and all those kind of thing products.
Can Africa be able to build a united front for themselves, like Europe have with NATO and?
Yeah, that was the idea of the African Union, but they've turned it into a kind of a social club that they've not been able to move beyond that place. But and interestingly, I mean, the idea of African Union, started before the idea of the European Union, but they've been able to achieve so much. That we can, where they are now, they are like a supra-nation. We are not like that. We are just copying some of those things in words, but not in action. There shouldn't be there should be no African country where I will need to travel with a visa. I remember when I went to, was it Senegal or Sierra Leone recently, and they were about stamping. I told them that if I travel to the United States, they don't stamp my passport. They just scan you in. I mean, those are the ideas of technology. They scan you, you scan your passport, there's a place you place your passport data page. It scans you in. Then the man there will impute into the system that you have been stamped in. You are stamped in virtually, not stamping on your passport, that kind of thing. So, I mean, the passport I have now, I've traveled to the US with it for up to 6 times. There is nowhere inside the passport, apart from the US visa, there's nowhere inside the passport you will see all those. They used to have that admitted stamp, that their blue stamp, admitted, so date with a red ink and all those kind of things. They don't do it again. And if you're leaving the United States, they don't stamp your passport, they just scan you out. But it's in their system. And if you come to their embassy here and stamp your passport, they will see how many times you've been in the US. So nobody is using, and by doing that, the stamp is no more, nobody is using it. And secondly, nobody is defacing your passport this thing all the time. But if you travel some of these other countries every day, they keep on stamping you. Before you know it, one leaf is finished, another one is finished, another one is finished. So, but those are some of the things technology is supposed to do. You scan people in, and it makes things a lot easier. Even in that place in the United States now, most of the airlines, domestic airlines, you are traveling, you go there, you check yourself in. You just check in yourself, scan your passport, you put your passport on the kiosk, that kind of thing. You check yourself in. It will tell you, put on your luggage. You put on your luggage, it records it and everything. Before you know it, it will print out your tag. The machine will print out your tag. You tag your bag yourself and go and drop it yourself and move. The thing is that if your luggage is more than the normal requirement, the tag will not come out. You get it? So there are checks. The tag will not come out. So if the tag does not come out, there's no way you're going to go and drop your luggage. So you have to repackage so that the tags. So these are basic things that make life easier. So those are the things Africa should be able to. If you, oh God, if you drive from say Ghana to Lagos and all this kind of thing, if you see the number of trucks that wait at border posts, trucks wait at border posts sometimes for over 1 week. Wow. They've not been able to move from one border post to another. Then when you travel from Mexico inside United States, or from United States to Canada, or travel across France, Germany and those kind of things, you see how trucks move. They don't stay there for up to 10 minutes. There's a huge scanner that the truck will drive into a scanner. Wow. When the truck is driving through the scanner is already scanning everything inside the container. So if there's anything that is contraband, they will know. The barrier up front will stop the truck. But if everything they see within the scanner is what the man filled, he has, they allow you to go. So what will it cost us? Sometimes you go here, if you're going from here to the border here, from the border here to Ilakonji, from there to Bojiboji, before you get there, that's how you see trucks up to 100. Every border should have a huge scanner installed. There's one we have in Nigerian border here at Seme. But it's fortunate. The last time I passed through there, they are not using it. They are still doing physical inspection. Do you know why they do physical inspection? Let me tell you, technology cuts corruption. But systems that are neck deep into corruption does not want technology.
Because it will avoid all the
that's why you go to our airport, you see a lot of machines. That's why you go to airport, you go places whereby there's supposed to be a car park is supposed to be self-operated, but they will still put a human being there. to be raising the thing up
Just
and
like
down,
collecting some money.
so that the man will tell you happy Sunday, happy this. So we create inefficiency, because it is within this inefficiency that corruption finds a vehicle.
I think poverty is also one of the reasons. All right, thank you very much. Now I see that one of the phone questions, I see that you love wildlife a lot, and the way you describe, each time I read any of your posts where you describe animals and wildlife, it's so very interesting, and I tend to be very curious. What drives your interest in wildlife, and which animal interests you very well?
I can't really say which exact animal that interests me very well, but I study groups. First and foremost, what we don't understand is that our life, our very existence, depends on the life and the existence of animals. People don't know. Okay, and so when you think about on the civilization ladder, development of societies, whenever a society starts thinking about the wildlife, the animals within its territory, then you know that society has started growing outside the survivalist mode. That's why if you see how much China is spending in building wildlife and also creating forest parks, creating enabling ecosystems for wildlife to thrive. Do you know that abroad, societies spend money to build bird nests and hang it on the tree?
Wow.
So that birds will go there and lay eggs. People build feeding pen around their compounds, where from time to time they go and drop nuts for birds to fly in to come and be eaten, and put water so that birds will drink water. Get it?
Wow.
People don't understand there's a lot of this connection. Some of these birds, they say, okay, look at the bees. Do you know that if bees go extinct tomorrow, human beings will go extinct? The bees are, what will I say? They are responsible for over 48% of pollination of food crops, of which without them carrying out those pollination, some of the food crops we are eating will not be available. So our life inadvertently depends on some of these things and some of the things they do. And so because some of these things, like, there are places, countries will go and import some snakes, rat snakes, and put inside their forest when they're having rat infestation that is beyond them, and they don't want to use chemicals to be fumigating. So the sustainable way to do it is to use all those things, and they have checks and balances. So that's the thing. When you want to know a primitive society is one where people are still so
killing
animals. I wrote something about Enyimba Enyi.
Yes.
Some time ago, although I've not been able to expand it. Where you have Aba now, 80 years ago, that place, that forest where you have that around surrounding Aba, used to be along major elephant pathway between West African elephant herds and East African elephant herds, and that's where they normally congregate before they continue moving into Mount Cameroon through Cross River, the Cross River Rainforest. So the concept of Enyimba as a symbol of Aba didn't come out of nothing.
Okay.
It's like Abidjan, elephants of Cote d'Ivoire. The largest population of elephants ever known to man in 100 years, 80 years ago, was in Cote d'Ivoire. But we've killed all of them now. Now, if you want to see elephants now, you go to South Africa, you go to Botswana. Because Botswana is crying now that they want people to come and be taking elephants, because the elephant population want to be more than the human population. So Rwanda now, all those places are going there now to take elephants. So many of them are taking elephants. But if we are a normal society like Nigeria, we should go and take elephants so that our zoos, when you go to any society, they don't have zoos, they don't have parks, they don't have libraries. No, that is a primitive society. Yeah.
Wow.
A society that don't have zoo, no park, no library is a primitive society.
Now, which of the animals you say you don't have anyone that interests you more? I'm very interested.
I love the elephant community, because they are super intelligent. Super intelligent. A lot of people don't understand what those animals. Those animals are so interesting. So interesting. They're so intelligent that if there's an elephant family that lives here, and another elephant family lives somewhere like Ojota, another one lives something like around Redeem Camp. If the elephant family here loses a member and the member dies, they send out a message through low growling sound. There's the mourning sound they give that show heartbreak, that they are mourning, that they're grieving. And that sound can travel over 50 kilometers. So every other elephant community that hears that sound, we decode that sound and know that these people are grieving, and they will come to pay obeisance. They will come to that place to pay condolence. And they spend about 3 days. Some will spend about 7 days mourning, standing around there, paying condolence. After paying condolence, they will run around, move around there, and they will go back to their destiny. And that's the same way when there is a danger, they do that. If there's going to be an earthquake or a tremor, they do that. If they sense that there's going to be a kind of a drought, that water is going to be scarce, they do that so that every elephant, every matriarch within 100-kilometer radius will know that water is going to be scarce. Then they start searching for water, and they can smell water 200 kilometers away. And
is there any other animal that can defeat them?
It is not. It's very hard to fight an elephant herd, but lions used to attack, especially when lions are so hungry and they don't have any alternative. They take deadly risk. And that deadly risk is try to pursue elephants. But if you notice how elephants walk, you notice that the elephants walk in the middle.
Yes.
And all of them surround it. So for you to get to that one, you need to cross. And it's very dangerous, because elephant kick can scatter the brain of a lion. So they don't.
Wow, this is very interesting. Now, another fun question is: if there's another life and you're going to be born again, would you like to still be born in Nigeria?
That's a tough one. There are a lot of good things in this land, but it's messed up. It's messed up. I don't think I would like to, because some of the things that give me joy, like I'm telling you now about wildlife. Years ago, I wrote a proposal to Imo State government to see if they can set up some parcels of land. Let's cut it off as a kind of reserve, both wildlife. Then, if you notice now, there are a lot of trees that we are not seeing again, so that we can get all the trees that we used to know that used to grow in the southeast and plant it there. Let them grow as if they are growing in the wild. Let's plant all the shrubs, all the herbs that we can think of. Let that place be a botanical garden, reserve garden, where everything will grow freely and all animals can roam freely. Let it be a sanctuary for everything. And let it be a kind of legacy we can leave for the next generation. And they thought that was a stupid idea. So any society that thinks that kind of thing is a stupid idea, because presently now, do you know that oba that we eat, 60% of oba that we eat now are imported from Cameroon. Now nobody is thinking about replanting. Look at okra. Okra now has become a premium food because we are not replanting. We don't think sustainably. So I will go to any country that loves nature, any country that has open spaces where people are free to roam and to live in harmony with nature.
Now, if Tinubu should call you today and make you his economic advisor, what are the first 3 things you will tell him to do?
I can't be an economic advisor because first and foremost, I don't have requisite training in that area. Nobody can say that if I come now, they'll say, this one, does he have PhD in economics? Does he have this? Does he have this?
Question.
Yeah, but I understand. I said, but first and foremost, you have to tackle food insecurity.
That's the first thing.
First thing, you see this issue of herdsmen and farmers, bandits and farmers, you have to tackle it first and foremost.
Okay.
It's the most important.
By security.
In food insecurity, because food insecurity amounts to general insecurity.
Okay.
So that's the first thing he will have to tackle. Food insecurity. We have to reduce our food inflation level is about 35%, and that's deadly. To see how we can reduce food inflation. That's the number one thing you have to tackle. Every other thing can fall into play. But if you tackle food insecurity, then you focus on insecurity itself. There's a large number of ungoverned spaces in Nigeria now. It's no more in the north, or not only in the north again. Most places, even in the southwest, some bandits have taken over. Other places that are mining, illegal logging, and all those kind of things. In the southeast, some bandits have taken over, all those kind of things. What does it take to flush out all these bandits? What does it take?
They're politicizing it.
Just get few Reaper drones. Just get some drones, well-equipped drones that can sense human temperature. Use drones. By the time you use drones,
then the third one. Is there any other one? Final one.
Then if you're able to, I don't know whether they'll be able to tackle issue of corruption and issue of this, then reduce cost of governance.
Cost of governance.
Cost of governance is exorbitant. You can't survive with this cost of governance. We're in any country whereby in this budget, the capital expenditure is lower than recurrent expenditure. There's no way you're going to develop. There's no way the economy is going to grow.
Now, as a father of 4, how do you manage the demands of your career with family life?
It's crazy. It's crazy. I've done a lot of sacrifices. The ones I didn't like, the ones I've done a lot of sacrifices. It's crazy. I think I've not been there enough as I would have loved to, because I travel a lot. I've not really been there as I would have loved to. But something about this thing is that time lost. It was Marcel Proust that wrote one book, À la recherche du temps perdu, In Search of Time Lost. When you lost time, you cannot get it back. And especially worst when it comes to family issues, raising kids. You cannot get it back, because that thing you missed when they were under 10, and you want to get it back when they were teenagers, they've moved that level. And by the time you think you get it back, they are now becoming men. And you are now talking to them. Sometimes you talk to them at that level now, they think you're not smart. In their mindset, this man does not know anything. And so those are some of the things, sacrifices you make, you cannot regain. And of which, if I have opportunity to start all over again, I would do things differently. Even if it means from time to time taking kids to the office, I would do it, spend more time
they don't
with
stay
them.
In Nigeria.
Yeah, basically, they're grown up now, so there's not much you can do. The time they wanted you, the time they deserved you around, when you should be attending PTA meetings, when you should be attending open day, for every day, when you should be taking them to football practices and all those things, but you were not around. Now they can take themselves to all those things and they don't need you around. So even if you make out time now to do those things for them, they don't need you around now. You know, when kids grow to a certain level, especially boys, they don't want the presence of their parents within their gathering or those kind of thing. They think that it makes them look like a sissy, or look like a mommy's kids. So they don't want you. You come, they say, "What are you coming here to do?" You just go. But there was a time they wanted you. Yes. You could not come, and you've lost that opportunity. So
wow. This is a very perfect and excellent time. Now, what do you have finally to say generally, all what you've said all together? Your advice to people and to Nigerians and Africa at large.
You know, I've told Nigerians to be alive.
Yes.
Try as much as possible to be alive.
Yes.
To hang in there, to keep don't swim, don't allow your head to go under. That's basically. Then Africans should start thinking. We don't think. We are too consumerist minded. We are easily influenced by entertainment tickling, and all that. We don't pay attention to real issue. We should start thinking about ourselves. We should start thinking about the state of affairs, and we shall start thinking about the future, what the future holds, especially in a world that is constantly in a flux. It's changing fast, and we can. So where do we locate us? Where is us? Are we going to be? So that's it.
Thank you so very much. Thank you,
my pleasure.
Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. But also, maybe people may like to reach out to you and things like that. Would you like to share? People may reach out to you or get to know you better or get to connect with you and things like that.
Basically, I'm more active, as you know, I'm more active on Facebook than every other person. But from your advice, maybe I will start getting paying more attention to Instagram. Okay. I'm also on X, Twitter, and also on LinkedIn. But it's Kelechi Deca. You know, in all these places, Kelechi. It's only on Twitter that is at Deca Kelechi. Okay. It's only on Twitter, but in both LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, it's Kelechi Deca. Or they can also search me on Google. I think I have a lot of presence, online presence and online footprints, and
thank you so very much for this opportunity. Guys, thank my guest Kelechi Deca for this very powerful and very inspiring episode. I believe this has really impacted you. I know this has really impacted you. So first time coming to the channel, where to hit the subscribe button, like this video, share to people that this video is highly going to impact, and also thank my guest once again, Mr. Kelechi.
It's my pleasure.
It's really a wonderful time being with him. I remember and on this channel I do my best to talk on business mindset, self-development, and also issues that's going to change your life and also change your mindset and help you to do better and improve in your life, and also achieve globally and do better for ourselves in Africa and also in Nigeria, and then in your own small area, your community. You can impact life and do better. So I remember Benzik, and I'm going to see you again next time. Thanks for watching. Cheers.